Chapter 2437. He had fully comprehended the Chaos Saber technique. In just 3 years, Lin Feng had completely comprehended this basic saber technique. This saber technique's intent realm heavenly Tao was completely unorthodox. It relied on the initial chaos heavenly Tao to unleash pure power. Was it difficult? It was indeed difficult for Lin Feng, who had never come into contact with the chaos heavenly Tao or even the divine strength heavenly Tao. If it was outside, even with the guidance of a teacher and the perfect chaos body, it would be very difficult to master. After all, Lin Feng's comprehension was jumping. After all, this was the entry level of the chaos heavenly Tao. Everything was difficult at the beginning, and the entry level was often the most difficult. But here, the virtual body given by the top-level artificial intelligence allowed Lin Feng's consciousness to simulate it over and over again, immersing himself in the experience. This level of comprehension was definitely not available outside. No training facility had such an effect. The combat domain was the best training facility in itself. Boom! Boom! Power erupted. Lin Feng felt that his entire body was filled with explosive power. The advantage of the Chaos Heavenly Tao was that it was almost seamless with the Intent Realm Heavenly Tao. It didn't need to be too deliberate to unleash enough power. This was a little different from the Myriad Phenomena Heavenly Tao. The Myriad Manifestations Heavenly Tao depended on whether the Heavenly Tao of Intent and the Saber Technique could be combined. However, the Heavenly Tao of Mixed Strength itself was a foundational thing. It was a combination of techniques and realms that could increase the mixed strength from 1 to 10 to 100. Although the Chaos Heavenly Tao and the Intent Realm Heavenly Tao can be combined perfectly, it's troublesome to combine it with the Myriad Phenomena Heavenly Tao. Lin Feng knew. Generally, in the combat domain, the attacks of human experts were the Myriad Phenomena Heavenly Tao plus the Law, or the Myriad Phenomena Heavenly Tao plus the Intent Realm Heavenly Tao. The Chaos Heavenly Tao appeared more often among the experts of the Demon Race and the Demon Race, who were good at strength, or among the races and special life forms with strong bodies. Their attacks were more of the Chaos Heavenly Tao plus the Intent Realm Heavenly Tao. It's a little difficult. Lin Feng frowned slightly. There were 2 paths in front of him. One was to combine the initial Chaos Heavenly Tao with the Myriad Phenomena Heavenly Tao, which was to combine the 3rd heaven of the 9 heavens of light and darkness to increase his combat strength. The other was to continue to cultivate the stronger Chaos Heavenly Tao realm. The initial realm was only the beginning of the Chaos Heavenly Tao. After that, it was small success, large success, perfection, pinnacle, extreme, and great perfection. He had just opened the door to the Chaos Heavenly Tao. There were 2 paths. One was to increase his current combat strength, but that would waste precious time in the actual combat area. The other was to use the unique cultivation effects of the combat domain to increase his cultivation of the Chaos Heavenly Tao. Lin Feng pondered for a moment. Let's increase our current combat strength. After all, I've already stepped into the realm of the Heavenly Tao of Chaos. Although it's only the beginning, I've already made a start, and there's already a clear path for me to cultivate. It'll be much easier, and even if I leave the field of combat, I'll still be able to improve my cultivation. Moreover, in less than 20 years, it's impossible for me to improve the realm of the Heavenly Tao of Chaos to small success. Let's take a step back and say that even if it's upgraded to small mastery, its power is only equivalent to the 3rd sky of light and darkness. It needs to be integrated to be able to exert more power than it is now. In comparison, the hidden venerable points are more important. Lin Feng nodded to himself. He was now at the 57th level in the combat simulation space, and was very close to the 60th level. Although passing the 60th level didn't mean that he would be able to enter the roulette battle, at least there was hope. With his current strength, his chances of entering the roulette battle were less than 10%. Although there are only 100 spots in the roulette battle, and even if I go all out, I won't be able to compete with the first 50 or 80. But in fact, the further I go, the smaller the gap becomes. Everyone's combat strength is probably at the 60th level, and it's a competition of improvisation. In the remaining 17 years, if I can integrate the third sky of light and darkness and the initial chaos heavenly Tao of chaos, even if my combat strength only increases by 20 to 30%, I should be able to reach the 60th level. At that time, I'll have the power to compete. A soldier who didn't want to be a general wasn't a good soldier. If there was hope to enter the roulette battle, why would he give up? Was it because there were very few rookies who entered the roulette battle in the past epochs? For hundreds of epochs, there hasn't been a single rookie who could enter the roulette battle. I'm going to break this rule. Lin Feng's fighting spirit was instead aroused. The harder it was, the more challenging it was, the more his blood boiled. Especially when he saw Huang Qinyan, who was high up on the rookie ranking board, Luo Jing. Lin Feng's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. People always climbed higher. Most importantly, there was the double reward in the battle domain. The first time entering the roulette battle, the reward was 1,000 hidden revered points. 2,000 hidden revered points. Lin Feng went all out. Some hidden revered points were gone if missed. The benefits of a rookie couldn't be repeated, so wasting 1,000 hidden revered points was too much of a waste. How many times could he enter the training facilities and increase his strength? In the hidden revered training camp, hidden revered points were everything. It could increase one's strength, buy treasures, and do anything you want. 3911 hidden revered points was far from enough. Wanxiang Heavenly Tao and Chaos Heavenly Tao don't have any conflicts. One is the law, the other is the realm of strength and technique. They can be added together, but the fusion aspect still needs to be strengthened. Lin Feng was definitely a master in the fusion aspect. Many talented cultivators had fallen at this threshold. The 9 heavens of light and darkness was the peak of Wanxiang Heavenly Tao, and it wasn't just for show. It was extremely powerful, but it was also extremely difficult to cultivate. Fusion, there were techniques and fusion degrees. Normal fusion could produce a certain amount of power. If the fusion was more compact, the power would be stronger. If the fusion was perfect, the power would explode. So Lin Feng chose this path. Even if he could only fuse a part of it, his strength would definitely increase. It was just a matter of how much. As long as I can fuse 80%, I can reach the 60th level. If I can fuse 100%, I might have a chance to reach the 61st level. The combat simulation space also had 5 levels and 1 stage. The difference between the 60th and 61st level was huge. Lin Feng was clear. He had only comprehended the initial realm of Chaos Heavenly Tao, so his strength was still too weak. Plus, his body was at peak God Lord, so he didn't have any Chaos Heavenly Tao. So even if he fused to the limit, he would only be able to increase his strength by 1 to 2 times. But if he fused the initial realm of Chaos Heavenly Tao, it would be different. Once he fused the initial realm of Chaos Heavenly Tao, which was comparable to the Light and Darkness Heavenly Tao, his strength would explode. But that was too far away. It's already not bad to be able to fuse the Light and Darkness Heavenly Tao with the initial realm of Chaos Heavenly Tao. Lin Feng wasn't greedy. He only had 17 years, so he was already satisfied. After all, his true body was the perfect chaos body. Once he left the combat domain, he would be able to unleash even more strength. Target 80% fusion. Let's go all out in the top 100. Lin Feng was filled with battle intent. Chapter 2438. Every newcomer was fighting hard. They were often more hard-working than those old people who had stayed in the training camp for several eras. First, it was because it was their first time in the real combat field, and the improvement was more significant. Second, it was because of the huge double reward, and third, it was for reputation. In the Hidden Zone training camp, Although it was rare for newcomers to enter the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand, there were usually 2 or 3 of them. Only those who entered the top 100 roulette battle would not appear even once in 100 eras. Every one of them was the focus of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. The newcomer's name was very important. It represented resources, represented prospects, and represented whether the 7th Mercenary Alliance valued them. Huang Qinyan, I will win against you. I will definitely win against you. A demon man with half a body red and half a body green was crazily cultivating. He was the current second place on the newcomer ranking list, Yanhandi, the demon prince of the Vajra district. My mixed strength heavenly Tao has touched the edge of great success. As long as I reach great success, I can compete with Huang Qinyan. I will not lose to you. As the demon prince of the Yanhandi clan, Yanhandi had a proud self-esteem. He had always been number 1, and this was what he was most proud of. Even if he came to the training camp full of talents, he wanted to be number 1. He did not want to lose to anyone, especially humans, especially women. Too stupid. Too stupid. A dark green, 7-meter-tall man waved 4 swords and crazily attacked. His attack contained the law of time, combined with the heavenly Tao, and the powerful ability to do 4 things at once. He was ranked first in the newcomer ranking list. In fact, the newcomers from the 2 training camps were ranked as high as the 3rd place. Special life, Man Jiang. He blamed himself. Because of the lack of experience, he fell into a bitter battle in the first stage of the Great Elimination Sand. Although he finally succeeded in advancing, he was not the first to advance but the second. He lost a lot of points and hidden Zune points, and it caused his ranking list to plummet. He had been surpassed by Huang Qinyan before, and now he was surpassed by Yanhandi. The overall ranking of the 2 training camps fell to 9th, almost falling out of the top 10. In the second stage, I must wash away my shame. Take back the ranking that belongs to me. Man Zhang's fighting spirit was surging. His 4 arms were madly attacking. After entering the field of actual combat, he had also improved a lot. Although his improvement was not as great as Yanhandi's, but now it was already incomparably close to the combat strength level of the 60th stage of the simulation space. Lin Feng, this little guy, has indeed entered the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand. In the battle domain, Wang Sun, who came from the universe region, looked at the newbie ranking and smiled, his ponytail swaying in the wind. He was not surprised. Back then, when Lin Feng defeated Kabir in the combat simulation space, he had already displayed a combat strength close to that of a warlord. It was entirely possible for him to enter the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand. I wonder if he was the first to advance or the second to advance? If it's the first advancement, the Great Scouring Sands will have a lot of advantages at the beginning of the second stage. Wang Sun smiled. In the last era, he was ranked 653 in the combat domain. He had advanced in succession, but this time, he was the first to advance. I can't lose to that little guy. He has already exceeded his goal and entered the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand. It's time for me to reach my goal. Wang Sun's eyes gleamed. His goal this time was very clear. It was the top 100 roulette battle. Not only in the combat domain, but also in the survival domain. His goal was to be in the top 100 of the entire Hidden Saint training camp. There were many warriors like Wang Sunday. Of the 1,000 who had entered the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand, none of them were weak. Everyone wanted to reach a higher level and obtain the right to enter the roulette battle. However, there were some whose goals weren't there. For example, the Hidden Saint training camp's strongest Pu Kuku, or the combat domain's great demon Tuakong, Aomo etc. Their goals were much further. To them, entering the roulette battle was a given. After that, in the roulette battle against the God-slaying training camp, winning face for the Hidden Saint training camp was the most important. Every era, The Hidden Saint training camp was always suppressed by the God-slaying training camp. As a member of the Hidden Saint training camp, they were naturally unwilling. Who didn't want to fight for face? Trout Dragon, Tigan Decidua. In terms of overall strength, I, Pu Koku, cannot compare to you guys, but in the combat domain, I still have a chance to win. A pair of bright eyes flashed with dense fighting intent. Pu Koku wasn't a human, nor was she from the devil race or the demon race. She was a special life form from Ka-O star boundary. Born with the Hundun body, she had tyrannical strength and was proficient in the Hundun heavenly Tao. Pu Koku had entered the training camp for the 4th era. Every era she improved at lightning speed. In the previous era she had squeezed into the top 10. In this era, she had firmly maintained the top 2 rankings of the Hidden Saint training camp. She was fully deserving of being the strongest warrior in the Hidden Saint training camp. 20 years passed in the blink of an eye. To every combat domain's cultivator, they wished they could have another 200 years. However, the combat domain's training time was limited. If they had another 20 years, they would have to obtain the right to enter the top 100 roulette battle. Those with strength would naturally be able to obtain more resources in the training camp. Everything was decided with their fist. It's finally starting. Lin Feng heard the voice of the top AI and kept his battle blade Diin. The results of 20 years of training had completely exceeded his expectations. Although he had not reached 100% fusion, he had long surpassed 80% fusion. Lin Feng had 100% confidence that he could pass the 60th stage of the combat simulation space. Right now, I should have at least a 20% to 30% chance of winning the roulette battle. Lin Feng disappeared from the independent space. 1000 to 100. The cruel second stage of the Great Elimination had begun. In the competition of absolute strength, those who could survive until now were not mediocre people. There were no lucky cultivators who had passed. After recuperating in the combat domain for 20 years, all of them were now in their peak condition. It's the selection battle again. At this time, Lin Feng already knew that the rules in the Great Sand Cleansing stage were different from the rules in the Dark. The selection battle was indeed arranged by the top AI, but it was not like the rules. The arrangement had its own rules. I don't know if I have the right to choose. Lin Feng waited for time to pass. What he knew now was that he did not belong to the first batch of selections. In the last duel area of the first stage, his kill score should not be high. 4 kill points could only be considered to be in the middle or upper middle of the top 500 duels area, and the time taken was quite long. If I have the right to choose, it should be 60 seconds. Lin Feng counted silently in his heart. If he did not guess wrongly, the top 500 duels in the first stage of the Great Elimination stage were very likely to have the right to choose, but there should be a difference in order. Time passed slowly. 60 seconds quickly passed. No. Lin Feng felt a little regretful. Chapter 2439. Although it was a pity, Lin Feng didn't really care. It was good to have such a convenient rule. If he didn't have it, he didn't need to care too much. It would affect his temperament. Actually, he was still confident that he could enter the top 500. However, the hope of entering the top 100 was slim. 100 seconds, 120 seconds, 150 seconds, time passed slowly. Suddenly, the surrounding scenery changed. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. His eyes flashed. The time was exactly 180 seconds. As expected. Different from the first stage, this time there should be 5 batches. I'm in the 4th batch. Lin Feng was overjoyed. It was better to be able to choose than to be chosen. Moreover, he was in the 4th batch. There were still 200 cultivators for him to choose from. As expected, these 200 cultivators were the cultivators who advanced from the 500 duels in the first stage of the Great Scouring Sand. The difference between the first and second place is indeed huge. Lin Feng glanced at the 200 cultivators. The number was decreasing. Obviously, he wasn't the only one who was choosing. 60 seconds was a short period of time. There were 200 cultivators, and the duel spaces were numbered, including those who had already been selected. The duel spaces dimmed, indicating that they could not be entered. There were a total of 500 duel spaces from 1 to 500, clearly indicating the combat strength of the 500 selected cultivators. 1 was the strongest, 500 was the weakest. Of course, the so-called 1 was the strongest didn't mean that the cultivator's combat strength was strong. It meant that he had the highest score and the best performance among all the cultivators who advanced from the second stage. Such a ranking could be used as a reference. However, the real deciding factor was the selected cultivator. Most of the people would choose the ones with the last numbers. For example, the duel spaces numbered 301 to 500 were all dimmed. Only a few of them were lit up. They were probably not to be trifled with. Otherwise, they would have been chosen long ago. More than half of the spaces numbered 201 to 300 were dimmed. Less than half of the spaces numbered 101 to 200 were dimmed. Less than 10 spaces numbered 1 to 100 were dimmed. Lin Feng skipped the spaces numbered 1 to 100 and spent a few seconds to choose the spaces numbered 101 to 200. Because most of the numbers 201 to 300 had dimmed, they had at least been filtered many times. On the other hand, the numbers 101 to 200 had not been filtered too many times. In fact, the combat strength of the cultivators in the two regions was not much different. The amount of screening became the key factor. Which one should he look for? Lin Feng was a newcomer, and he did not pay as much attention to the other cultivators as Yuan Xiu. When he looked at the cultivators, he saw that they were all unfamiliar faces. He did not know how strong they were, so he could only choose based on his instincts. Oh! Lin Feng suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar face. Third on the rookie leaderboard, Man Jiang? Although Lin Feng didn't pay much attention to the rankings, he was still familiar with the top 3. Huang Qinyan, Yan Handy, Man Jiang. They were hailed as one of the 3 supernovas of this epoch. Their names had long shaken the entire training camp, especially Man Jiang. Yuan Xiu had mentioned him many times before. Back then, his ranking on the rookie rankings was even higher than Huang Qinyan's. At one point, he was ranked first on the rookie rankings and third in the 2 major training camp. As a special life form, Man Jiang was very talented and powerful. But in the actual combat arena, he probably suffered a little. Lin Feng looked at the number 112 above Man Jiang. His ranking was actually quite high. Although he was promoted later, this number was enough to prove his strength. He might be stronger than some of the cultivators who were promoted first. And because Man Jiang was a newcomer with great potential, it was very likely that he would improve rapidly in the actual combat arena and become a famous supernova. Therefore, no cultivator chose him. Those seniors who had stayed in the training camp for a long time would usually choose opponents who were recorded in the database, familiar with them, and confident in defeating them. I'll choose him. Lin Feng made his choice. Since he didn't know the other cultivators, he might as well choose Man Jiang. At least he knew who he was and his approximate strength. It was better than randomly choosing a cultivator who had extremely strong combat strength, but performed poorly in the first round. In the 301 to 500 region, there were only a dozen or so cultivators who were not chosen. They were probably like that. Lin Feng entered the duel space directly. 60 seconds. He only wasted 10 seconds because he knew very well that this time was likely to be included in the benefits or ranking. Or was it related to hidden honor? Duel space 112. Man Jiang stood upright. His dark green body exuded a strong fighting spirit. His eyes were closed, but his 7-meter-tall body gave off a strong sense of oppression. Of his 4 arms, 2 were short and 2 were long. Although he couldn't use his bloodline power in the actual combat arena, his natural form was tacitly allowed. He was good at fighting with 4 arms. You couldn't just give him 2 arms, right? My opponent is him? Seeing Lin Feng appear, Man Jiang was slightly surprised. Unlike Lin Feng, he had carefully studied all the cultivators who had entered the second stage of the Sentinel Sands. These were all within the scope of information that could be found, especially the other 5 newcomers who were his main competitors. Man Jiang was especially attentive and had checked the complete information. Although he valued the actual combat arena, he valued the newcomer ranking even more. After all, this was the place to measure a newcomer's true strength. Furthermore, the survival arena test 5,000 years later was the most important. Lin Feng once defeated Kabir in the actual combat simulation space. According to the information, his combat strength should be around the 50th level in the actual combat simulation space. However, newcomers often have a huge increase in combat strength when they first enter the actual combat arena. With his sudden increase in newcomer ranking and his first place in the first stage of the Sentinel Sands, he should be around 300 to 400. His strength should be at least at the 56th level in the actual combat simulation space. 57, 58, or even close to 60. He shouldn't be underestimated. Information appeared in Man Jiang's mind. As a special class genius who had once occupied the first place in the newcomer ranking, Man Jiang was top-notch in all aspects. Furthermore, all his judgments were based on data and not baseless guesses. My current strength in the actual combat simulation space is at the 59th level. It should be on par with him. Man Jiang didn't underestimate Lin Feng. Especially now that Lin Feng had the right to choose, it directly raised his combat strength by a level. Otherwise, Man Jiang's previous estimation of Lin Feng's combat strength would only be at the 55th level in the actual combat simulation space, which was in line with his ranking on the newcomer ranking. He was an opponent on par with him. Very good. Man Jiang was excited. It wasn't only because his opponent was also a newcomer, but also because such an opponent had a higher chance of winning. He clearly knew his current situation. Losing the right to choose in the first round was actually a huge disadvantage. But now, he had forcefully erased his disadvantage. It was 50-50 and even for 5-5. The one with the advantage should be me. Man Jiang's eyes flashed. He raised his 4 arms, revealing his sword. Chapter 2440. Taichung God Territory, Hidden Supreme City. Come, look. What's there to see? I'm busy. No, I have 2 newcomers on my side. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Come and see. Dozens of venerable ones in charge of the combat region gathered around curiously. In the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand, it was not uncommon for powerhouses to face off against other powerhouses, especially those who already had gaps. However, it was extremely rare for newcomers to face off against each other. After all, in previous eras, there were usually only 2 or 3 newcomers who could enter the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand. It was too difficult to meet them. Let me see. It's Man Jiang, who is ranked 3rd on the newcomer ranking list, and Lin Feng, who is ranked 5th on the newcomer ranking list. Who picked who? Lin Feng picked Man Jiang. Lin Feng was the first to advance. Oh? Lin Feng is so confident? He dares to challenge Man Jiang, who is ranked ahead of him on the ranking list? Isn't that so? There are so many people here who are weaker than Man Jiang. It's not wise to pick a weakling to enter the top 500. Wouldn't it be better for his rating to rise? Why would a newcomer think so much? Lin Feng might think that his strength is not worse than Man Jiang, but his ranking on the ranking list is not as good as Man Jiang, so he's a little unhappy and wants to prove himself. It's normal. After all, he's a genius among geniuses. Naturally, he's arrogant and doesn't want to fall behind others. The venerable ones spoke one after another and were in a heated discussion. They were all in charge of the combat region. Naturally, they knew Lin Feng and Man Jiang very well, especially the newcomer's information. It was what Huang Zun and even Sir Ultimate God needed the most, so they had to do their homework. What's with all the noise? Wei Yan's voice was heard. Deputy Regent. Deputy Regent. The Venerable Ones greeted him. The 5 major regions were in charge of 1 regent and 10 deputy regents. Huang Zun was in charge of 1,000 Venerable Ones. The deputy regent had a square face and big eyes. His long silver eyebrows were like silver hooks. His hands were behind his back and his expression was solemn and domineering. The Emperor of the Sea Sect was one of the 10 deputy regents. Go back to your own place. Huang Zun of the Tong sect shouted in an extremely dignified manner. The Venerable Ones immediately dispersed in an uproar. Naturally, they didn't dare to disobey Tong sect's Huang Zun's order. The clamor immediately quieted down. Lin Feng, Man Jiang. Huang Zun's eyes flashed as he stared at the screen. Others might not know, but he knew that Lin Feng's score in the simulation space was 57th, which was higher than Man Jiang's. Moreover, this was only his previous score. He might be even stronger now. A super newbie who has been famous for a long time and is from many astral realms. An ordinary newbie from Xingfeng Astral who rose to prominence after entering the training camp. Huang Zun stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes deep. At this moment on the screen, the battle between the 2 rookies had already begun. In dual space number 112, Lin Feng and Man Jiang were engaged in a fierce battle. One was an ordinary human, while the other was a special life form. There was indeed a natural gap between them, especially when Man Jiang was multitasking. His 4 arms were waving 4 different sets of sword moves that complemented each other. It was extremely terrifying. It was as if it was 4 against 1. The dense sword moves faintly suppressed Lin Feng completely. So powerful. Lin Feng was filled with emotion. As expected of the super newbie who was ranked first on the newbie ranking list. He could also multitask, but he definitely couldn't perform 4 different sets of sword moves at the same time like Man Jiang. The most terrifying thing was that the 4 different sets of sword moves contained 4 different heavenly axioms. Multitasking was really amazing. This was a unique bloodline talent of special life forms. Heavenly Axiom of Minute Realm versus Heavenly Axiom of Minute Realm. Third Heaven of Light and Darkness versus Heavenly Axiom of Time. In terms of raw strength, Man Jiang had the advantage in all aspects. Although his sword moves weren't as exquisite as Lin Feng's saber moves, they were 4 sets of heavenly axioms of minute subtlety. 4 sets of sword moves had a huge advantage. The same went for the heavenly axiom of time. Although it wasn't as exquisite as the heavenly axiom of light and darkness, it was cultivated to a high level, at least the strength of the 59th level, or even close to the 60th level. Lin Feng and Man Jiang fought continuously and quickly figured out the opponent's strength. Although Lin Feng was slightly at a disadvantage, the combat strength that Lin Feng displayed was only the same as when he passed the 57th level. It was natural that he was inferior to Man Jiang. Fighting with an opponent like Man Jiang was an eye-opener for Lin Feng. His minute subtlety has even touched the edge of the exquisite realm. Lin Feng was also cultivating the exquisite realm of heavenly axiom of minute subtlety, so he had a very deep feeling when fighting with Man Jiang. The height of the heavenly axiom of minute subtlety made up for the coarseness of his sword moves, causing his great avalanche saber technique to not have any advantage. It's about time to show my true strength. After blocking Man Jiang's attack, Lin Feng took a step in the air, and his saber technique suddenly changed. As he retreated, the heavenly axiom of light and darkness seemed to condense a layer of invisible power and instilled it on the War Saber Emperor concealment. In a blur, the War Saber Emperor concealment seemed to be high-pitched, and the power of the Great Avalanche suddenly increased. 80% fusion rate. It's enough. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. He had a clear estimation of his own strength. Initial heavenly axiom of mixed strength, heavenly axiom of light and darkness, and 80% fusion rate of the heavenly axiom of minute subtlety. He had the absolute combat strength of the 60th level of the simulation space. It was enough to defeat this super newcomer from the Duoyun astral realm. Boom! Lin Feng's combat strength instantly soared. I can take down the 57th level of the simulation space. Man Jiang, who was proficient in data calculation and analysis, steadily performed 4 sets of sword move. He wasn't in a hurry to take the risk and forced Lin Feng to a dead end, preparing to steadily win this duel. In his estimation, his chance of winning was originally 50% higher. He wouldn't give Lin Feng any chance to counterattack. With enough strength and precise calculation, he was in an invincible position. The 4 sets of sword moves were flawless, and they could be used for both offense and defense. Man Jiang had rich combat experience. He was bound to win. Suddenly, what kind of power is this? The power of the opponent's great avalanche suddenly increased, and it was mixed with a powerful force of the universe. Man Jiang, who was incomparably familiar with any data, immediately knew. Initial heavenly axiom of mixed strength. How could this be? Man Jiang retreated again and again, switching from offense to defense. His face was a little flustered. He's a human, how could he comprehend the initial heavenly axiom of mixed strength? You're putting the cart before the horse. Man Jiang couldn't figure it out at all. Humans were known for their comprehension ability, not their strength. Lin Feng comprehending the initial heavenly axiom of mixed strength was completely inexplicable, and the most inexplicable thing was that the other party had succeeded in comprehending it, and it was integrated into the saber technique and myriad manifestations heavenly axiom. Is there something wrong with this person? Man Jiang clenched his teeth, and his face was extremely ugly. Although he didn't know what was going on, his opponent's sudden increase in combat strength after fusing with the initial heavenly axiom of mixed strength was real. The strength of the 60th level. Damn it! Chapter 2441. Man Jiang gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. The absolute difference in strength made it difficult for him to withstand. Moreover, this newcomer Lin Feng's fighting style was exactly the same as his. He didn't have the impatience of a newcomer at all. Instead, he fought steadily step by step, without any openings to be found. Boom! 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 The mega avalanche gradually erupted. Lin Feng's accumulated advantages gradually overwhelmed Man Jiang. 4 arms, 4 sets of sword technique. Although it gave Man Jiang a strong attacking ability, his defensive ability didn't increase. When he no longer had the advantage in attacking, Man Jiang gradually lost the initiative in the battle. Oh no! Although Man Jiang was unwilling, he knew that it was difficult to turn the tide. In the real battle domain, unless there was a breakthrough during the battle, it was rare to have the ability to suddenly change the battle situation, especially when the opponent's attacks were intricate and meticulous. I am indeed not good at the real battle domain. Man Jiang believed that his strength was stronger than Lin Feng. However, in the real battle domain, his bloodline, talent, and control of the heavenly treasure were all difficult to use. Losing was also a result of helplessness. Moreover, according to the calculation and judgment of the data, Man Jiang knew that it would be difficult for him to break through the second stage of the Great Elimination Sand. Whether he entered the top 100 or not, what was the difference between losing early or late? Qi. Lin Feng's war saber Di suddenly fell. It was more violent than before. The tyrannical strength given by the universe's heavenly Tao and the third heaven of light and darkness were like 2 sharp blades that ruthlessly tore apart Man Jiang's defense. Hua, Man Jiang's figure dissipated. He had lost the battle of the newcomers. My strength wasn't used up much. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The battle where he defeated Man Jiang didn't affect his fighting strength at all. From the beginning to the end, the battle was within his control. The next battle is the key. It's no longer a battle of 10 cultivators, but a battle to determine the first place. Lin Feng's right hand that was holding War Saber Di tightened a little. The next battle was the real key. Defeating Man Jiang was just a warm-up battle, so he had not used his full strength. Firstly, he wanted to preserve his strength to prevent himself from being seriously injured before entering the battle. Secondly, even if he killed General Man as fast as he could, it would be useless. 180 seconds had already passed in front of him. In other words, 300 practitioners had already finished their selection. There were at least more than 200 cultivators who had finished their battles before him. If he couldn't get the first or second seed, what did it matter if he got the third, fourth, or fifth seed? There was only one person who had advanced to the next round. That will depend on luck. Lin Feng's figure flickered as he left the duel space. It was completely unknown which area the top-level artificial intelligence would arrange for him to fight in. If he was lucky, he might meet a seeded contestant who wasn't that strong, or he might be arranged against a contestant whose strength was on par with the other 4 cultivators. Then, he might have a chance of advancing. About 30%. The battle for position depends on one's combat power and strategy. It's not like there's no hope. Taichung Honorable God Realm, Hidden Honorable City. Sure enough, he won. Huang Zun of Xingzong witnessed Lin Feng defeat Man Jiang, and his eyes flashed. Unlike the other venerables, as the deputy region leader, he understood the newcomers better and knew that Lin Feng's strength was above Man Jiang's. It was reasonable for him to win. He's still holding back his strength. The mixed strength heavenly way has not completely merged with the 9 heavens of light and darkness. It seems that he's holding back for the battle for position. Unfortunately, it's only the initial mixed strength heavenly way. There's too little time. Huang Zun of Xingzong shook his head. If it was the small success mixed strength heavenly way, the combat power would be completely different. Lin Feng had the ability to break through the obstacles and get the only spot in the battle for position. But now it could only depend on luck, because in terms of strength alone, he felt that the current Lin Feng was still a little lacking. Battle Area 77. Huang Zun of Xingzong's eyes flashed, and then he laughed. After defeating Man Jiang, he met Yan Handy. Could this Lin Feng be a rookie killer? Seat 4. His strength is about the same as Yan Handy, and he's about the same as Cho in the 3rd seat. The strongest one is Taoist San Gui in the 1st seat, who is extremely proficient in the laws of space and time. Let's see who is in the 5th seat. However, the 2 newcomers will probably be stopped in this round. Huang Qinyan. Mingzong Huang Zun's eyes lit up. Take down Seat 1 of Duel Zone 81. With her strength and the opponents in Seats 2, 3, and 4, there is an 80% chance that she will advance to the roulette round. A total of 381 eras. Finally, a rookie has advanced to the roulette battle. Between her and Ye, who is the strongest newcomer of the 2 training camps in the combat zone. Huang Zun stood with his hands behind his back. He was looking forward to it. Universe Region, Plaza Lounge Bar. Wang Zihan, Meng Luo, Pu La, Meng Tuoyuo, a group of Xing Feng branch's special class geniuses, sat in a circle. First class geniuses like Qi Ruolin, Yuan Xiu, and O Yangyi were even more numerous. A total of 55 cultivators. It had to be said that Wang Zihan and Meng Luo's rallying power was quite strong. Even Pu La, who disliked Lin Feng, came. After all, Wang Zihan was the strongest in the Xing Feng branch of the Hidden Saint training camp. They had to give him some face. Boring. Pu La muttered to himself. From time to time, he would pick up a cup of wine and drink from it. What's the point of this kind of cheering? Could it be that Lin Feng can go to heaven? With his strength, it's impossible for him to enter the competition. Qi Ruolin glanced over. Whether he enters or not, Lin Feng is already the pride of our Xing Feng branch. How many eras has it been? Our Xing Feng branch has always been nameless. Not to mention the second stage, we didn't even enter the first stage. Good luck. Pu La was still stubborn. Yuan Xiu laughed. Luck is also a part of strength. Who knows, maybe Brother Lin will continue to have good luck later. Wang Zihan laughed. Don't worry too much about the result. This is just a tradition of the training camp. There are 836 cultivators from different astral realms gathered here. They are all cheering for their branch's cultivators. Out of the 29,999 astral realms, less than 3% of the branches have this honor. The other branches can only be envious. Meng Luo sighed. Our Xing Feng astral realm is ranked below 20,000 among the 29,999 astral realms. In the past, when did we ever get a chance to enter the combat region and survival region? Pu La picked up his wine and drank it fiercely. Since the two big shots had spoken, he naturally wouldn't say anything more. He could only curse in his heart. Isn't it just good luck? In the next era, no, in the era after that, I can also enter the second stage of the Great Elimination, sand, and fiercely show off for once. Pu La clenched his teeth. His eyes were filled with jealousy and hatred. Because he was eliminated by Lin Feng. With his mediocre strength, he will be eliminated soon. He still wants to enter the battle? Stop dreaming! Pu La thought to himself. Suddenly, an excited voice sounded beside him. Chapter 2442. He has advanced. Lin Feng has advanced. It's true. Look at the newcomer rankings. Lin Feng has replaced Man Jiang and is ranked third. Ha ha, I knew it. Lin Feng will definitely advance. He is a super genius of our Xingfeng branch. He is too awesome. Wang Zihan and the Menluo experts were excited. Lin Feng had entered the top 500. This was not a competition with the newcomers, but with the super geniuses who had been in the training camp for several epochs. To have such a result was enough to be proud. Only Huang Qinyan, Yan Handy, and Lin Feng have advanced to the ranking battle. It's too cruel. 6 newcomers advanced to the second stage of the Great Sand Elimination Tournament and 3 of them were eliminated in an instant. That goes without saying. The later stages will be more difficult. The ranking battle is even more cruel. Only 1 out of 5 cultivators can obtain a position in the roulette battle. Huang Qinyan may be ranked first in the newcomer rankings, but it is also harder than ascending to heaven to enter the ranking battle. Yes, it is said that no newcomer has entered the roulette battle for more than 300 epochs. It is too difficult after all. Strength alone is not enough. It also depends on luck and experience. Anyway, we are already satisfied. Lin Feng is now in the top 3 of the newcomer rankings. He even squeezed Man Jiang out. Ha! This time, our Xingfeng branch can finally hold our heads up high. Some were happy, some were sad. As the 500 cultivators advanced to the ranking battle and 500 cultivators were eliminated, the cultivators in the 100 dueling areas had gathered. Each dueling area was divided into positions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There were 12 pairs of corners and 34 pairs of corners. Position 5 was the worst as it was located in the center of the dueling area. The rules of the ranking battle were simple. The one with the highest score would advance. It was the same as the last stage of the first stage of the Great Sand Elimination Tournament. Because of the chaotic battle, it was easy to turn into a group fight. For example, the number 1 seed expert would be easily surrounded by other cultivators. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. After all, those who could enter the top 500 were not weak. I didn't expect to encounter Yan Handy. Lin Feng was currently in seat 4, which was actually no different from seat 3. Above him was seat 2, and below him was seat 1. Between seat 3 and seat 4, seat 5 was located in the middle of the duel area. Another newbie. Seat 1 is Taoist Priest 3 Ghost. Lin Feng recognized the expert in the first position. He was currently ranked 80th among the top 100 cultivators in the Hidden Supreme training camp. To be able to obtain the first position in the ranking battle, it was enough to show how strong he was. Fortunately, it was only Taoist Priest 3 Ghost. If he had encountered top-notch experts like Pu Kiki, Tua Kong, or Aoma, they would have immediately surrendered. There's still hope. Lin Feng glanced at Yan Handy, who was in the second seat. Yan Handy was a newcomer like him, but it was clear that his actual combat strength was stronger than Manjiang's. He should be on par with me. Even if he's stronger than me, it shouldn't be by much. I don't recognize Seat 3. Lin Feng didn't know many cultivators, but he naturally knew someone as famous as Taoist Priest 3 Ghost. Seat 3 was a man with an ugly face. On his back was an ancient tortoiseshell pattern. There was no heavenly treasure in the combat area, so this was his original form, the same as Manjiang's 4 arms. Demon race expert, ugly. He was good at defense and cultivated the fusion of earth and time. Hua, the cultivator who appeared in Seat 5, was a special lifeform with 4 eyes. The top 2 eyes were green, and the bottom 2 eyes were blue. When looking at his eyes, it was as if time had stopped. His soul power is very strong. If he's not from the time region, then he's from other regions. It's very likely that he cultivated a soul secret technique. Lin Feng instantly judged. Every opponent couldn't be underestimated. Even the 4-eyed special lifeform in Seat 5 had a chance of advancing. Now that they were still alive, which one of them was weak? Every single cultivator was secretly plotting and scheming in their hearts, waiting for the battle to begin. Let's see who can get more points. 2 points. Whoever gets 2 points first has a high chance of advancing. Once Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts gets 1 point first, the ranking battle is basically over. Lin Feng knew very well that with Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts' strength, after getting 1 point, he could naturally stay until the end. He would have a lot of choices. If he participated, he could get 2 points. If he didn't participate, he could control the situation and keep everyone's points at 1 point. If he stayed, he would win. The strongest Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts had the highest chance of staying until the end. As soon as the battle begins, Taoist Triple Ghost will definitely attack the Demon Race Expert in position 3 or attack me. Lin Feng put himself in his shoes and could easily judge that directly attacking Seat 5 was too stupid. He would definitely be targeted. 280 chance. The possibility of attacking me is 80%. Lin Feng had already sorted out his thoughts. Seat 4 was generally weaker than Seat 3, and he was a newcomer. If Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts didn't attack him, who would he attack? Moreover, Seat 3 was good at defense and wasn't easy to deal with. I have 3 plans. First, find Seat 2 Yan Handy and fight her one-on-one. Second, go directly to the central area and find Seat 5, where the 4-eyed special lifeform is. Third, go to the no man's land between the central area and Seat 2, and then act according to the situation. Lin Feng's thoughts were very clear at the moment. First of all, avoid Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts. If he didn't, he would be finished. Although he was Seat 4, he should have the ability to compete with Seat 2 and Seat 3, and the other party was likely to underestimate him. This was his advantage. There were too many variables. It was different from the first stage of Sentosa. In the first stage, because there were 2 places to advance, the competition was actually not so fierce. But now there was only 1 place to advance. Naturally, the 8 immortals crossed the sea and each showed their magical powers. All 3 plans were fine. But first of all, he had to know that the other cultivators were not puppets and wouldn't be controlled by him. For example, Seat 5's 4-eyed special life form, would he stand there stupidly and wait for others to attack? Impossible. If he entered the central area, Seat 5's 4-eyed special life form would escape, and he would be trapped in an even worse situation. Either fight Yan Handy one-on-one, or go to the no man's land and act according to the situation. The latter. There was no time to think anymore. The white halo around Lin Feng's body had gradually dimmed. The battle was about to begin. Taoist priest, three ghosts, Yan Handy, Cho Cho, and the four-eyed special life form were all ready. Suddenly, the white light disappeared, and 5 astonishing auras erupted at the same time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the duel area, Taoist priest, three ghosts, who was the strongest, took the lead to attack. His body was divided into 3, extending like fingers, and at the same time, he went straight to seat 3, 4, and 5. 1 against 3. Chapter 2443. The strength and courage of Taoist three ghosts made the other cultivators' faces change. Yan Handy in the 2nd position went straight to the four-eyed special life form in the 5th position, not following the right path. Wander in the 3rd position hesitated slightly, and then went to the 2nd position where Yan Handy was originally at. Obviously, he wanted to avoid the first round of hard battles. Lin Feng chose the 3rd option, and quickly went to the no man's land between the four-eyed special life form and Yan Handy. But at this time, the four-eyed special life form retreated, and Yan Handy went to the middle, and the situation changed instantly. Taoist triple ghost is split into 3 and can change at any time. Not only is his opponent unable to predict which cultivator he will attack, but more importantly, he is able to avoid being targeted. Moreover, his boldness makes other cultivators wary of him. In the first battle, I must not fight with him first. Once I'm delayed, it will be difficult for me to get even 1 point. Lin Feng instantly changed his direction and went straight to Yan Handy. If there was one that Taoist three ghosts was most wary of, it must be Yan Handy in the 2nd position. The ranking was basically linked to strength. If he went to Yan Handy would not back down. After all, for him, dealing with him in the 4th position was no different from dealing with the four-eyed special life form in the 5th position. But Taoist three ghosts would definitely not provoke Yan Handy and him first, because then, he and Yan Handy could cooperate to deal with Taoist three ghosts. You don't know what's good for you. As the prince of the Yan Handy demon clan, Yan Handy was extremely arrogant. Seeing a newcomer daring to challenge him, he would not back down. He did not even take Taoist three ghosts seriously. No matter how famous he was, he would only know who was better after fighting. Boom! Yan Handy directly waved his fist, and the fiery red fist was like the eruption of a flaming mountain. A shocking heavenly Tao appeared in the void, and the most terrifying thing was the power of the eruption of the flaming mountain. It roared continuously like the power of nature in the universe, very real. Mixed strength heavenly Tao, small success. Great avalanche. Lin Feng did not back down. Facing Yan Handy's attack, he no longer hid his strength. His initial fusion of Chaos Heavenly Way and Third Sky of Light and Darkness was already perfect, reaching 90%. The rumbling sound of the avalanche was filled with tremendous power. The light and dark energies blended with each other, colliding with Yan Handy's attack like two stars colliding. They didn't give way to each other. What? Yan Handy didn't expect this. This rookie in position 4 was actually able to block his attack without suffering any damage. He's actually stronger than Man Jiang? As soon as they exchanged blows, Yan Handy knew that this was a tough opponent. He was definitely at the 60th level of the simulation space. A beam of light shot out from her eyes as her fighting spirit soared. One newcomer after another appeared, which made Yan Handy extremely unhappy. He was the strongest newbie in the training camp. Boom! She threw out another punch. The cyan light was like a hurricane. The heavenly way of the Tao of nature was endowed with the same heavenly way of mixed strength. One red and one cyan intertwined. Yan Handy had used all of her strength. Chi. Lin Feng's attack was also clean and efficient. Neither was willing to give an inch. Taichung God Realm, Qianzuan City. They both have the battle strength close to the 61st level. Lin Feng and Yan Handy, these two newcomers are really strong. Yeah, if it was any other era, they would be able to compete for the top spot on the newcomer ranking list. Unfortunately, Huang Qinyan is in this era. All the newcomers are overshadowed. She has already gotten 1 point in the battle for the position. With her strength, she is already half a step into the roulette battle. Pu Kiki is the best. 1v4. Haha, for these top experts in the combat field, 1v4 is the standard configuration. The sovereigns were appreciating the battle for the position and commenting from time to time. The combat field had already reached its climax. Even the deputy governor of Xingzhou, Huang Zun, was staring intently at the huge screen, reading the information given by the top artificial intelligence. Duel Area 77 was still in chaos. Compared to the other battle areas, Battle Area 77, where Lin Feng was too similar in strength. Other than Daoist Triple Ghost, who was slightly stronger, Yan Handy, Lin Feng, and Lao Cho all had the battle strength close to the 61st level. Among them, Lao Chao's defense was extremely high. The slightly weaker four-eyed special life form, Kuroi, had the battle strength of the 60th level. However, he was good at soul secret techniques, soul attacks, and illusions. Even Daoist Triple Ghost was wary of him. Daoist Triple Ghost was confident that he could kill Kuroi, but he might be severely injured by Kuroi's soul attack. This was something that Daoist Triple Ghost could not accept. Now that Lin Feng and Yan Handy were fighting fiercely, Daoist Triple Ghost was not willing to intervene. This was because he could see that these two newcomers were definitely not to be trifled with. If he interrupted their battle, their anger would burn him. Therefore, he was now focused on attacking the demon race expert, Lao Cho. Although the other party's defense was high, the key was, he was not a threat. As long as he spent some time, Daoist Triple Ghost was confident that he could kill Lao Cho. It was a protracted battle. In Duel Area Number 77, Kuroi and Lao Cho were fighting against Daoist Triple Ghost. Daoist Triple Ghost concentrated his firepower on Lao Cho. On the other side, Lin Feng and Yan Handy were fighting fiercely. They were both injured, but their fighting spirit was getting higher and higher. Chaos Heavenly Tao. So this is how the Chaos Heavenly Tao is used. The battle between Lin Feng and Yan Handy was like a needle piercing into the flesh. Lin Feng had the deepest understanding. Yan Handy's Chaos Heavenly Tao had not only reached small success, but was also close to great success. For Lin Feng, whose Chaos Heavenly Tao was only at the initial stage, fighting with her had benefited a lot. It was like a senior giving advice to a junior. It should be fused like this. This is the right way to use the Chaos Heavenly Tao. This is the key. After 17 years of practice, Lin Feng's fusion of the Chaos Heavenly Tao and the third sky of light and darkness was gradually getting better. However, after the fusion reached 95%, it became slower and slower. He lacked some experience, mainly because he had not used the Chaos Heavenly Tao too much and did not know much about it. Now, he had mastered it. What's going on? Why is his battle strength getting stronger and stronger? Impossible. Yan Handy's face was ugly. He kept attacking Lin Feng, but his opponent was like a spring. The deeper he pressed, the harder he bounced back. The other cultivators could not see it, but Yan Handy could feel it himself. He was terrified. This newcomer Lin Feng's battle strength was getting stronger and stronger. No. I can't lose. Yan Handy was furious, but he gradually lost his ability to continue. His injuries were getting worse. His opponent's blade made him feel powerless. His strength seemed to be disappearing and uncontrollable. The body given by the top intelligence was too weak. No! Yan Handy looked at the blade in the void and roared in his heart. He was full of fighting spirit. But at this time, his strength was completely exhausted. Chi! Yan Handy eliminated. Chapter 2444. 100% fusion rate. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly, his fighting spirit boiling. Although his injuries were not light, the 100% fusion rate had increased his combat power to another level. Previously, he was close to the 61st level, but now, he had completely reached the 61st level. In the simulation space, the 5 levels were one level, and the difference between the 60th and 61st level was very big. Most importantly, the battle with Yan Handy allowed Lin Feng to understand a lot. Especially, the almost perfect, small success level of the mixed strength Heavenly Tao. There was no guidance, and it was the most direct when it came to a life and death battle. Boom! On the other side, Shou Chou was already heavily injured. Taoist Priest 3 Ghost's tyrannical strength blocked the combined attacks of Kuroi and Shou Chou, but he still had the upper hand. He was extremely powerful. But at this time, he was staring at Lin Feng, his black and white eyes hiding surprise and fear. Because, in the one-on-one battle, the one who lost was the second position Yan Handy. Although Lin Feng was not lightly injured, Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts could not abandon Kuroi and Shou Chou. If he did, he would very likely be trapped and attacked by the 3 cultivators. No matter how confident Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts was, he would not dare to play like this. Moreover, Shou Chou was already heavily injured and would be eliminated soon. For Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts, the most important thing was to kill Shou Chou and get the precious 1 point first. As for Kuroi and Shou Chou, it was even more impossible for them to leave. Currently, they were not a match for Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts in a 2-on-1 battle. If either of them left the battle, it would be equivalent to selling their teammate to Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts. Once Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts got the first point, the only person in the ranking battle would basically be settled. Because, with Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts' strength, there was more than a 90% chance that he could stay until the end. Whoosh! After killing Yan Handy, Lin Feng immediately distanced himself from the other 3 cultivators to avoid sneak attack. However, the 3 seemed to be in deep water and did not pay attention to him. In just a few seconds, Lin Feng had already clearly judged the situation. Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? This was no longer the first stage of the Great Elimination Sand, and he was no longer the strongest. Even though he could perfectly merge with the initial Chaos Heavenly Tao and reach the strength of the 61st stage, he was still inferior to the Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts. We can't let him get the first point. Lin Feng was very clear. Once Taoist Triple Ghost obtained the first point, even if he obtained the second point, it would be useless. This was because in the final one-on-one battle, he would most likely lose. Right now, there were 2 paths in front of him. He could either wait for an opportunity to kill the heavily injured Ugly and steal the first point from Taoist 3 Ghosts, or he could deal with Taoist 3 Ghosts himself. I can't deal with the demon expert in position 3, Lin Feng thought to himself. Although this seemed to be more likely, once he defeated Shou Chou and obtained 2 points, he would instantly become the target of everyone. The Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts and the 4-eyed special life form in the 5th position would definitely join forces to attack him. By then, he would be doomed. The one who laughs last is the real one. Whoosh! Lin Feng immediately charged into the chaotic battle and attacked the Taoist Priest 3 Ghosts. He had no other choice. He could not watch Taoist 3 Ghosts take the first point, nor could he sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Thus, he could only join the battle and take down Taoist 3 Ghosts together with the cultivators in position 3 and 5. Moreover, he absolutely could not be the main attacker. Judging the situation, this little guy is smart. Huang Zun looked at Lin Feng's performance on the screen and nodded in satisfaction. With his experience, he could easily judge the situation. However, those involved could not see clearly, and Lin Feng was a newcomer. It was not easy for him to not be blinded by victory and make the right choice in such a short time. He even pretended to be injured and retreated to the second line, giving the scoring opportunity to Carob. This little guy is really cunning. Huang Zun smiled. What the 7th Mercenary Alliance wanted were cultivators with strength, potential, and brains. Therefore, there were many areas where wisdom and strategy were needed in the combat domain and the survival domain. In a 3 against 1, Daoist 3 Ghosts would not be a match for them no matter how strong he was, especially when Lin Feng's combat strength was already very strong. If Lin Feng was the main attacker, he would definitely make Shou Chou and Carob wary because he had already scored points. Even if they did not attack Lin Feng, the 3 of them would definitely be in a mess when they worked together because they all wanted to snatch points. Facing Daoist 3 Ghosts, could he win in a chaotic battle? Moreover, so what if Lin Feng got the second point? Shou Chou and Carob would definitely work together to attack him. Instead of becoming the target of public criticism, it was better to take a step back and enjoy the boundless sea and sky. Sometimes, taking a step back is more important than taking a step forward. Huang Zun sneered. On the screen, Daoist 3 Ghosts had been forced into a dangerous situation, and Lin Feng had retreated to the back. He seemed to be seriously injured, but in fact, he had helped Shou Chou and Carob to reverse the balance of the battle. As long as Daoist 3 Ghosts dies, I can win most of the position battle. Lin Feng's injuries were indeed serious, but not as serious as what he was showing at the moment. At least, they were much lighter than Shou Chou's injuries. Whether it was Daoist 3 Ghosts or Carob, they were not idiot. It was obvious at a glance whether they were faking their injuries or not. However, it was difficult to tell how serious their injuries were. Lin Feng did not plan to take the initiative to kill Daoist 3 Ghosts. Even if he was very confident that he could snatch the point from the powerhouses in position 3 and 5, he would be killed at the same time. At that time, although he would get 2 points, he might not necessarily advance because the cultivator who killed him and also got 2 points would stay longer than him and advance. Moreover, after all, Daoist Triple Ghost is a super expert on the ranking board. It's impossible to kill him without paying a price. If I push him too hard, it'll be too sad. Lin Feng was not afraid of dying together with Daoist Triple Ghost. If he died together with Daoist Triple Ghost, he could advance smoothly. He was afraid that Daoist 3 Ghosts had hidden a trump card and would kill him first. That would be depressing. He would leave the risk to the cultivators in position 3 and 5. His goal was to stay until the end. Boom! Chi! Rumble! With Lin Feng's support, Carob in position 5 became more and more powerful. Although his strength was slightly inferior, how weak could he be if he could enter the top 500? Moreover, Carob's attacks contained soul fluctuations, which greatly affected Daoist 3 Ghosts. Otherwise, he would not have been injured by Lin Feng's attacks again and again. As for Shou Chou, although he was seriously injured, he landed in front of Carob and blocked most of Daoist 3 Ghosts' attack. He was also waiting for an opportunity to kill Daoist 3 Ghosts. His cooperation was very clever, making Daoist 3 Ghosts suffer. Chi! Bang! The avalanche rumbled. Daoist 3 Ghosts, who had just been intimidated by Carob's soul, turned pale. The continuous injuries made him unable to continue fighting. His swaying body was knocked by Shou Chou. Carob screamed as a soul spike pierced into Daoist 3 Ghosts' mind. Chapter 2445. Lin Feng was attacking, Kuroi was attacking, and Shou Chou was also attacking. The difference was that Lin Feng's attack had severely injured Daoist Triple Ghost. It was as if he had kicked open the door with a single kick. It would take some time for the second attack to land, and during this time, Kuroi was the first to enter the door. Soul attacks were more effective than physical attack. Those two idiots. Daoist Triple Ghost cursed inwardly countless times. Chi! Kuroi's soul all pierced through Daoist Triple Ghost, who was already severely injured. The latter let out a shrill cry and stared at Lin Feng in the distance. His figure turned into a white light and disappeared. There was no way to speak here. However, how could Daoist Triple Ghost not know who had prevented him from advancing to the roulette battle? And who would have the last laugh? Chi. Lin Feng attacked again. He didn't attack Xiao Chou, but directly attacked Kuroi, the four-eyed special lifeform who had just scored 1 point and whose entire body was shining with a misty white light. The timing was just right because Lin Feng didn't plan to kill Daoist Triple Ghost at all. It was better to be safe than sorry. His next attack was his true goal. Whoever killed Daoist Priest 3 ghosts, he would kill them. As for the remaining cultivators in position 3 and 5, only one of them had obtained 1 point. In other words, he only needed to kill the one who had obtained 1 point, and he would be able to obtain a spot in the ranking battle. His opponent was a four-eyed special lifeform. Perfect, because his attack was too strong. If he didn't give him enough pressure and kept attacking from the side, it would be very troublesome. However, the demon expert in position 3 didn't have this concern at all. Not only was he seriously injured, but he wasn't good at attacking. Mega Avalanche. Lin Feng finally used 100% of his strength, which was the powerful combat strength he used to kill Yan Handy, and instantly suppressed Kuroi. The latter's 4 eyes were shocked. What a cunning human! Kuroi's 4 eyes stabbed at Lin Feng as he also unleashed his full strength. At this moment, he completely understood Lin Feng's goal. On the other side, Xiao Chou still couldn't react, but he instantly attacked Lin Feng. Which of the last 500 experts in the field was stupid? They knew very well what was best for them. Pung! Lin Feng didn't seem to care at all when he took the ugly blow. It didn't matter even if his injuries were a little more serious. His target was Kuroi. His sea of consciousness was in intense pain, but Lin Feng's will was incredibly strong. Although he didn't have the 10,000 origin mustard stone to protect him, this body was still a peak god master. If Kuroi wanted to kill him with a soul attack, he would have to have a bloodline talent. It's over. Lin Feng's war saber D-en erupted with all his strength, and the mega avalanche rumbled down. The intent heavenly Tao that appeared in the void fused 100% with the primal chaos heavenly Tao, and the light and darkness frenziedly attacked. Kuroi could no longer resist. The difference in strength was decisive. Daoist Triple Ghost didn't dare to fight with his full strength because he was afraid of too many things. However, Lin Feng didn't need to worry anymore. As long as he killed Kareth, the advancement slot for the ranking battle would definitely be his. No! Kareth was hysterical, his 4 eyes blood-red and ferocious. However, facing Lin Feng's strongest attack, his physical defense, which wasn't strong in the combat zone, completely collapsed. He turned into a ray of white light and disappeared. Lin Feng's sea of consciousness suffered a heavy blow, and his physical body was almost shattered by the ugly. However, Lin Feng still survived. I'm not dead yet. Lin Feng smashed into the light wall of the duel area and grinned. The blurry white light flashing around his body meant that he had obtained another point. He had killed the 5th position 4-eyed special lifeform. He won. He had advanced to the top 100 of the combat zone. Roulette battle. Clang. For some reason, Di Yin's hand that was holding the war saber gained a bit more strength. Facing the ugly roaring in front of him, Lin Feng's eyes burned with an unyielding fighting spirit, and he fought again. Heavily injured against heavily injured. Neither was weaker than the other. The more injured one was, the crueler it was, and the more it tested one's willpower and fighting strength. And this was what Lin Feng was good at. How many times had he narrowly escaped death? Now that he was up against someone who was also seriously injured but weaker than him, Lin Feng relied on his tyrannical fighting spirit and superior strength to stay until the end. Boom! Lin Feng's strength was completely depleted at this moment. War Saber D-en destroyed the white light, and only one person was left in the entire combat zone, standing proudly. He won. Congratulations newcomer number 8484 for obtaining the entry to Duel Area 77 and completing 3 kills. Newcomer will be awarded double 1,000 hidden revered points, for a total of 3,000 hidden revered points. The voice of the top AI sounded. Lin Feng revealed a weak smile. His consciousness instantly returned to the independent space, and a clear stream of energy flowed through his body, instantly returning him to his peak state. This body was given to him by the top AI, so it was easy for him to recover. Good. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. Entering the top 100 and receiving double 2,000 hidden revered points was something he already knew, but the extra 1,000 hidden revered points was something he didn't expect. It should be something unique to completing 3 or 4 kills. 2 kills probably wouldn't be a special reward, because the promotion usually gave at least 2 points. 3 kills would give him 500 hidden revered points, and double for a newcomer would give him 1,000 hidden revered points, which was probably comparable to 4 kills. With these 3,000 hidden revered points, I have 6911 hidden revered points. Lin Feng opened the hidden revered Luo crystal, and looked at the changes in his hidden revered points. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't happy, as 3,000 hidden revered points was enough to buy a pretty good pinnacle true treasure. But to him, the right way to use it was to use it on a blade, enter the top training facility. The improvement of one's own strength was the most fundamental. External items were just external items, and he already had 3 pinnacle true treasures. One more would just be icing on the cake, and it wouldn't change much. Second place on the newbie ranking list. Lin Feng looked at Huang Qinyan's ranking and smiled. The gap was huge before, but now it was very small. Yan Handy, who was just eliminated by him, was 3rd place, and Man Jiang was 4th. They were both once known as the 3 most promising supernovas in the training camp. But now they were all surpassed by him. It's not realistic for me to catch up with Huang Qinyan in the battle domain. Let's wait for the survival domain. Lin Feng looked at the names above and closed the hidden revered Luo crystal. Only half of the new era had passed, and he still had time to catch up. Since he was ranked 2nd in the newbie ranking list after the survival domain, he definitely had the ability to stand at 1st place on the newbie ranking list. I won't lose to you. Lin Feng's consciousness was immersed, and he didn't relax at all because of the promotion roulette battle. He quickly continued to comprehend. There were 20 years of cultivation time before the roulette battle began. Continue to improve. Lin Feng, who was immersed in cultivation, didn't know how big of a commotion he had caused in the training camp. Chapter 2446. 2 rookies advanced to the roulette battle. Not to mention the Hidden Zone training camp, even the Deicide training camp had not had such a thing for more than 10,000 eras. In fact, the last time 2 rookies advanced to the roulette battle in the Hidden Zone training camp was 25,000 eras ago. The roulette battle for rookies alone had not happened for 381 eras. This time, not only the Hidden Zone training camp, but even the Hidden Zone city in the Taichung Zone God realm was in an uproar. The Venerables were not surprised by Huang Qinyan's advancement because she was a super genius in the last 1,000 eras. However, Lin Feng's advancement shocked them. An ordinary rookie from a remote astral world with no background actually advanced to the roulette battle. Moreover, he did not just rely on luck. The combat strength that Lin Feng displayed had already completely reached the level of the 61st checkpoint. You're worth teaching. The regent in charge of the combat field was a kind-looking fatty named Buki Huang Zun. As Huang Zun, his body was naturally flawless. This was the original form of a special life form. As Huang Zun, there was naturally a difference in strength, just like how Venerables could have a world of difference in strength. Although Sovereign Buqi had a benevolent look, the aura he exuded was incomparable to that of 10 deputy regents. The pressure of being in a superior position for a long time made the group of deputy regents feel as if they were in an ice cave, their faces solemn. Yunzong, you're the one monitoring the little guy. Tell me. Buki Huang Zun narrowed his eyes and said. Yunzong Huang Zun took a step forward and cupped his hands. Yes, sir. Rookie Lin Feng came from the Xingfeng astral world and cultivated the top Wanxiang heavenly path, 9 heavens of light and darkness. He has a strong will, a Hundun body, and has cultivated the soul. The deputy regents nodded and did not care too much. This information, that was heaven-defying in the eyes of ordinary cultivators, was nothing in the hidden Zun training camp. There were people who cultivated stronger Wanxiang heavenly path than Lin Feng, and countless Hundun bodies. As for cultivating the soul, there was nothing strange. Lin Feng's strongest points are his comprehension and speed of improvement. Mingzong Huang Zun said, when he first entered the training camp, he was unknown. According to the information provided by the top artificial intelligence, his strength was indeed one of the weakest among the rookies. However, in just a short 5,000 years, he has improved at a godly speed. Although this is only the ability of the combat domain, his future potential can already be seen. Buki Huang Zun nodded and rubbed his round belly. He smiled and said, It seems that this child has great potential. It's just that he was buried in the Xingfeng astral realm, but he suddenly exploded after coming to the training camp. Such situations were very common. Because Lin Feng was born in a remote star boundary, he had no resources, no teachers, and no good cultivation place. Even if he had great potential, it would be difficult for him to display it. However, after entering the 7th divine realm, the training camp was the best place to nurture new talents, so his potential was immediately stimulated. Sir, you are right. Mingzong Huang Zun agreed. Overall, Lin Feng is not inferior to Yan Handi and Man Jiang. Moreover, he has the strongest comprehension of humanity. The weakest human body also has the chaos body, and he has stepped into the primordial chaos heavenly way. Buki Huang Zun nodded. I believe that many Huang Zun will be interested. Battle record is everything. Lin Feng's battle record in the combat domain and his second place on the rookie ranking list will make him more popular than Yan Handi and Man Jiang. After all, he is a super genius that only appeared in 381 eras. Huang Qinyan, Lin Feng. A super genius that only appeared once in 381 eras. It caused quite a stir in Qianzuan City. Many venerables had already returned to their respective factions and reported to the higher-ups. There were also many independent Huang Zun experts who began to secretly inquire about the two. There were many who wanted to snatch Huang Qinyan, but there were also many who paid attention to Lin Feng. What was the most important thing in the combat domain? Comprehension of laws and realms. This was something that venerables couldn't lack. Once a cultivator who had an outstanding performance in the combat domain became a venerable, their cultivation speed would also be as fast as flying. At this moment, the Xingfeng branch was stunned. Venerable Xingyang, Kuei-Yi, and Huang Zun were all dumbfounded when they received the news. Venerable Baifu, Venerable Nanqiu, Venerable Hieo, and Venerable Cloud Crane were also stunned. Lin Feng had broken the combat domain's shackles of 381 eras in the hidden revered training camp. He was just a rookie. How could he advance to the combat domain's most credible benchmark, the roulette battle? Only those who had reached the peak of the Divine Master Realm could enter without relying on bloodlines or heavenly law treasures. When Lin Feng entered the Great Elimination Sand stage, all the venerables were excited and happy for Lin Feng. But now, this happiness came a little too quickly. It was like they only wanted to take a pile of gold, but now they found a huge mountain of gold. Lin Feng was that mountain of gold. Many Huang Zun experts asked me about Lin Feng. Venerable Xingyang spoke after a long time. Me too. Venerable Kuei-Ye's expression was wooden. The other venerables nodded. They were all the same. The news of Lin Feng entering the combat domain's roulette battle as a rookie had spread like wildfire. After all, this was not a secret, and all the information could be found with a little effort. Some Huang Zun and Venerables wanted to recruit Lin Feng through the Xing Feng branch. Now, our Xing Feng astral boundaries reputation is second to none. Venerable Xing Yang shook his head. I've been trying to make our branch famous, but I haven't succeeded. I didn't expect a rookie to break through the waves. Kuei Yi and Huang Zun said, this child's future is limitless. Venerable Bai Fu said, the Time Virtual Company seems to have received the news as well. I heard that they are regretting it so much that their intestines are turning green. Venerable Lei Ao almost wanted to fight me to the death. All the Venerables laughed. Back then, the Time Virtual Company and the 7th Mercenary Alliance were in a deadlock for Lin Feng. Venerable Xing Yang smiled. Tell them that they will be able to see Lin Feng soon. Why? Venerable Bai Fu did not understand. Kuei Yi and Huang Zun's lips curled up. In the 7th Hidden Venerable Conference, with Lin Feng's current strength, he will be our Xing Feng branch's trump card. Even if he can't suppress the other 4 giants, it will be easy for him to get a spot. All the Venerables nodded. They trusted Lin Feng's current strength. He could reach the limit of a peak divine master in the combat domain. Compared to the branch's strongest, how strong would Lin Feng be when he went all out? They will definitely be shocked. Venerable Xing Yang said confidently. Ha 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 ha, all the Venerables laughed heartily. Lin Feng's rise not only made the Xing Feng branch famous, but it also solved the branch's biggest problem. As the higher-ups of the Xing Feng branch, all the Venerables were happy. Chapter 2447. Top 100 Roulette Battle, second place on the newcomer rankings. Lin Feng's strength didn't just stun the Xing Feng branch's practitioners, the entire Universe District was in an uproar. This was because both newcomers were from the Universe District. Even Pu Kiki, who was ranked first on the rankings, was from the Universe District. The 5 districts were secretly competing with each other. The Universe District was undoubtedly in the limelight, causing the other 4 districts to pale in comparison. Come, brothers, let's bring the most expensive wine and the best dishes today. Eat to your heart's content. Menluo and I will treat. Wang Zihan laughed valiantly. Menluo stared at him from the side. When did I say I would treat? Haha, don't be so stingy when it's something to be happy about. Wang Zihan patted Menluo's shoulder and laughed happily. Aren't you happy about our little brother Lin Feng's advancement? This. Menluo was suddenly at a loss for words. Come, come, come. Everyone, don't stand on ceremony. Wang Zihan had a straightforward personality and shouted loudly. Qi Ruolin, Yuan Xiu, and the rest of the strong practitioners were all smiling and joking around. When they received the news, they were all stupefied and stunned. That was the top 100 roulette battle. Lin Feng was a newcomer. How did he get in? Since they couldn't figure it out, they might as well not think about it. Anyway, the result was right there. It was a fact. They would just treat it as Lin Feng performing excessively and squeezing his way into the top 100 roulette battle. The result wouldn't change anyway. Lin Feng was famous. Even their small and weak Xing Feng astral realm felt proud at this moment. The surrounding gazes were mixed with envy and jealousy, causing the cultivators of Xing Feng astral realm to raise their heads even higher and laugh even more happily. Even Pu La, who had always been dissatisfied with Lin Feng, forced a smile and drank with the crowd. He was also very confused and puzzled. However, Lin Feng had entered the top 100 roulette battle. Pu La didn't know how he should react. He was stunned. Humph, how lucky! When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. So what if he enters the roulette battle? He will probably be humiliated in the first round and be eliminated by the deicide training camp. Whispers came from the next table. Jealousy was obvious. Wang Zihan laughed heartily. You can't eat grapes, so you say that the grapes are sour. Don't you think it's funny? Ha 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 ha, Qi Ruolin, Yuan Xiu, and the others laughed together. Isn't that so? Being able to enter the top 100 is already a supreme honor, not to mention that Lin Feng is still a newcomer. You want him to perform well in the roulette battle? This requirement is too high. Even Pu Kiki can't win against the deicide training camp. The cultivators from Xing Feng's astral realm spoke with confidence. The cultivators at the next table snorted coldly. Their expressions were ugly, but they didn't know how to refute. After all, it was a fact that their astral realm was completely annihilated. The results were enough to explain everything. Congratulations! Brother Zihan, if you have the chance, please introduce us to Brother Lin Feng. Yes, we would like to get to know him. The cultivators from the other tables gathered around. Among them, there were many geniuses ranked in the top 10,000. They were very interested in Lin Feng. The training camp, in addition to unearthing the potential of newcomers, was also a good place to build connections. A rare newcomer like Lin Feng was naturally someone that all the cultivators wanted to befriend. When he became a venerable in the future, Lin Feng would definitely be a super expert among venerables. Combat field, independent space. After entering the top 100 roulette, he also had 20 years of cultivation time. Adding the previous time, it meant that Lin Feng could cultivate in the combat field for a total of 80 years. This was already very satisfying for Lin Feng. In the combat field, one could only cultivate for 100 years in each era. 80 years was actually not bad. He had already taken all the hidden revered points. His strength had already reached its limit. Lin Feng knew himself well. In the top 100 roulette battles, his strength was at the bottom. In the 77th duel area, he was actually not as good as Taoist Three Ghosts, even if the initial Chaos Heavenly Way was 100% integrated. Because it was only at the initial realm after all. Yen Handy has reached the small success realm. Lin Feng recalled the battle with Yen Handy. Yen Handy's usage of soul power was 100 times more exquisite than his. Compared to Yen Handy's, his initial Chaos Heavenly Tao was as crude as a farmer's. It was also because of him that he was able to fully integrate the initial Chaos Heavenly Way in the dual area. His realm was just one level away, and his comprehension was the best. If Yen Handy was now at the large success realm, no matter how many times he fought with him, he would probably only get a little bit of information. But what he comprehended now was quite huge. This is the small success realm of the Chaos Heavenly Way. Lin Feng studied hard. Without any burden, he had already obtained good enough results. For Lin Feng, there was no pressure at all in the roulette battles. In a one-on-one duel, strength was the foundation. In the blink of an eye, 20 years was very short for cultivators. But for Lin Feng, it was too short. 20 years of cultivating the initial realm of the Chaos Heavenly Way might be okay, but to comprehend the small success realm, it was too far away. No matter how deep his comprehension was, 20 years was just the tip of the iceberg of the small success realm of the Chaos Heavenly Way. The roulette battles were divided into 4 colors. The top 10 were purple roulette battles, 11 to 30 were green roulette battles, 31 to 60 were red roulette battles, and 61 to 100 were white roulette battles. The roulette spun the Hidden Saint training camp against the God Slayer training camp. Whichever cultivator it was, that cultivator would fight. This was the first formal confrontation between the 2 training camps in each era. The top AI would evaluate the initial rankings based on the results of the actual combat field, the number of stages in the actual combat simulation space, and other aspects. One of the tacitly agreed was king against king. Pu Kiki was up against Taigen Decidua, the strongest fighter in the God Slayer training camp. As for Trout Dragon, who was ranked second in the God Slayer training camp, he was up against Tuakong, who was ranked second in the Hidden Zune training camp. Binksy, ranked third in the Deicide training camp, was up against Auma, ranked third in the Hidden Sovereign training camp. The top 3 against the top 3 was the most eye-catching. Moreover, these battles would be simultaneously transmitted to the combat simulation spaces of the 5 regions, so that they could be watched directly. This was a grand occasion for the 2 great training camps. Every era's king versus king would attract a lot of attention. However, in this era there was another rare confrontation. Rookie king against rookie king. The hidden noble training camp had 381 eras, and not a single newbie had entered the roulette battle. Although the Godslayer training camp hadn't been around for that long, it had been 27 years since any newcomers had entered the roulette. In this era, there were super rookies emerging from the 2 great training camps. Among them, there were as many as 2 hidden Zune training camps. The Godslayer training camp was also in an uproar when they heard the news. However, the real battle was between Ye and Huang Qinyan. After all, there was only one rookie king. Huang Qinyan's score was much higher than Lin Feng's, so she was naturally the one to fight. Chapter 2448. Lin Feng didn't care who he was matched up against. He didn't want to win anyway. The ranking given by the AI was already out. It was a pretty good number, 99. Second to last. I didn't think there would be someone with a lower ranking than me. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't care. Although a ranking of 99 wasn't high, the difference between the strength of the white roulette was not as big as the ranking indicated. It was usually just a distance visible to the naked eye. For example, if Taoist 3 ghosts could advance, his ranking would be around 80. He was 20 places away from him. Was the difference in strength big? Not really. The roulette battle has to be fought 3 times in a row, then rest for 20 years before the final round. Lin Feng was clear about the rules. These could be checked by the AI. The 2 training camps had a total of 200 cultivators. After 3 rounds, 200 would advance to 100,000, 100 would advance to 50, and finally 50 would advance to 25. The matches were completely matched up by the AI. The 2 training camps would fight first. The purple roulette would only fight in the first round. The next 2 rounds would be against the red roulette and white roulette. Basically, the winner of the first round would advance to the final round of the big roulette, occupying 10 spots. The green roulette had 40 cultivators from the 2 training camps. The first round would be against the red roulette and the third round would be against the white roulette and red roulette respectively. Basically, the remaining 15 spots of the big roulette would appear in the green roulette. There were very few cultivators from the red wheel and white wheel who could enter the top 25 in the past eras. Lin Feng didn't have much hope. He was assigned to the worst white roulette. Even if he was lucky enough to advance to the first round, he might get an opponent from the purple roulette or green roulette in the second round. Even if he got an opponent from the white roulette, the one who could advance to the first round would definitely be stronger than him. In fact, Lin Feng didn't have much hope of advancing to the first round. The average strength of the Deicide training camp was much higher than the Hidden Zune training camp. He was only ranked 99 in the Hidden Zune training camp. If he was in the Deicide training camp, his ranking would probably be in the hundreds. Even if he got an opponent ranked 100, it was very likely that the opponent would be as strong as Taoist 3 ghosts or even stronger. Therefore, he didn't need to pay attention to it. There was no need to waste time investigating his opponent. Since he was going to lose anyway, Lin Feng focused on training. He would make good use of the last 20 years. The roulette battle had begun. In the previous eras, the finale would always be 3 kings versus kings, but this time, the opening was rather eye-catching, because it was a battle between the newcomer kings, Huang Qinyan versus Ye. Lin Feng was also watching. Moreover, he was watching in the actual combat zone, which was a VIP treatment. Being in the area closest to the duel arena, it was much better than being in the combat simulation space. At such a close distance, he could feel the fluctuations of power, the ripples of laws, and even clearly feel the surging killing intent of both sides. Amazing! Lin Feng looked at the battle between the 2 newcomer kings and sighed deeply. Both of them had true strength, and both of them were much stronger than the current him. Huang Qinyan's sword was as beautiful as a painting. Her concept of the heavenly Tao had completely surpassed the level of minute subtlety and stepped into the realm of exquisite. Ye, as an expert of the Yao clan, not only did he possess the chaos heavenly Tao at large success, but he also had an extremely deep understanding of space, which caused others to tremble in fear. The battle between the two rookie kings pushed the roulette battle of this era to the peak. Neither was willing to give an inch. Lin Feng was mesmerized by the battle. The cultivators of the two training camps also cheered for their respective camp. After a fierce battle, the deicide training camp's Ye came out on top and won the rookie king battle. Huang Qinyan lost. What a pity! Huang Qinyan's strength is not inferior to Ye's. In fact, she is slightly stronger. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. However, a battle was not only about combat strength, but also about improvisation, experience, fighting spirit, and so on. Ye, who came out of the deicide training camp, was decisive in killing. His combat skills were clean and neat. He turned the tables against the wind and defeated Huang Qinyan when his combat strength was slightly inferior. These are the cultivators of the deicide training camp. Lin Feng now understood why the hidden venerable training camp lost so miserably against the deicide training camp. This was only in the combat zone. In the survival zone, everyone was fighting to the death. The deicide training camp's cultivators were more suitable for killing and were stronger. After the rookie king battle, the white roulette battle began. Two small balls fell into the milky white roulette at the same time, causing the hearts of the two training camps to tremble. Gulu, the one from the deicide training camp landed at position 98, while the one from the hidden Zune training camp landed at position 98. Coincidentally, the one from the hidden Zune training camp landed at 99. I'm the first one? Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't even have time to enjoy the roulette battle before he had to go up. A unique energy descended. Lin Feng touched the roulette and the energy flashed. He entered the roulette. On the other side, the cultivator ranked 98th in the god-slaying training camp had also entered. He was a monster with 999 eyes all over his body. It was a special life form, 1000 illusion gem. Deicide training camp. Kill him. Gem. Take out your best 1000 realms illusory technique and let that brat die a tragic death. The hidden venerable training camp is full of useless people. Let's show them the strength of our deicide training camp. Ha 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 ha. Just like the previous era, as long as the deicide training camp has a higher ranking than the hidden venerable training camp, our deicide training camp can win. How about a 10-win streak first? What kind of rookie king was that? It sounded so good. 1000 era? Bah. We. Of course. Our Ye is the strongest newcomer. This Lin Feng is even weaker than the Phoenix Girl. 1000 illusion gem will definitely tear him to pieces. The deicide training camp's morale was high. On the contrary, the morale of the hidden elder training camp was somewhat low. After all, they had always been ruthlessly suppressed by the deicide training camp. Especially when Huang Qinyan, whom they had high hopes for, was defeated by Ye. The evaluation of her in the training camp was too high, and their hopes were too high. In the end, they were beaten down by a stick. The deicide training camp was still the strongest. Lin Feng's ranking was clear at a glance. The 99th rank and Huang Qinyan's 75th rank were very different. The top AI would not give a wrong ranking so easily. Lin Feng indeed only had the strength of a 99th rank. This also proved everyone's guess. His battle strength was just enough to enter the roulette battle. His opponent is 1000 illusion gem. He's so strong. Yeah, 1000 illusion gem from the previous era also entered the roulette battle. He defeated Mo Wu Ji in the first round. We can't help it. Basically, as long as the deicide training camp's cultivator is higher than us, we will lose. In the previous era, we only won 27 rounds. It was too tragic. Sigh, I just hope Lin Feng won't lose too badly. Chapter 2449. Lin Feng vs. Thousand Illusion Lang Mu. There was no information on his opponent, but Lin Feng's combat intuition had always been very strong. From the eyes all over his body and his movements, it could be seen that this was not an opponent who was good at close combat. Moreover, his utilization of chaos power was also very rough. At least, it was rougher than his. Good at the soul. His bloodline should be very strong. With so many eyes, he's either good at soul attacks, illusions, or controlling treasures. Lin Feng directly ruled out controlling treasures. Cultivators who were good at controlling treasures to attack relied heavily on treasures of the heavenly axiom. It was very difficult for them to enter the combat field unless they had other specialties, such as space attainments, time attainments, and so on. However, he could not feel it from the opponent's form and aura. It's very likely that he's an opponent who's good at illusions. Secondly, he's good at soul attacks. My luck is not bad. Lin Feng thought to himself. The one he was least afraid of was an opponent who also cultivated the soul. Although the body given by this top intelligence did not have the protection of the 10,000 origin mustard stone, his will would not change. Will was the commander. A strong will was very resistant to illusions. Therefore, he chose the Shattered Spirit Kill Book that day and not the illusion-type 10,000 Tribulations Reincarnation Spring. As for soul attacks and defense, will also played a key role. The stronger the will, the stronger the ability to resist soul attack. The battle had begun. Holding the saber Diyin, Lin Feng attacked immediately. After all, he was the strongest at attacking. The mega avalanche suddenly fell and enveloped the entire arena. The subtle concept Heavenly Way combined with the initial chaos Heavenly Way. Light and darkness intertwined and exploded to the extreme in an instant. Lin Feng's strength was completely displayed for the first time among all the cultivators in the two training camps. A human expert who's good at fusion. It's actually the myriad phenomena Heavenly Way combined with light and darkness. The subtle concept Heavenly Way and the chaos Heavenly Way. This human cultivates so many different things. What's the use of cultivating so many different things? He doesn't have any outstanding abilities. No wonder he's only ranked 99th. He's no threat to Thousand Illusion Lang Mu. He's bound to lose. Those watching from outside the arena were the top 100 super geniuses of the two training camp. They could see through Lin Feng's combat strength with a single glance. The vast majority of them were either skilled in the concept Heavenly Tao, had extremely strong comprehension of the laws, or had reached large success in the chaos Heavenly Tao. At the very least, they were particularly outstanding in one aspect. There were very few people like Lin Feng, who cultivated in a messy way and relied on fusion. Lin Feng's fighting prowess was quite strong in the eyes of the cultivators in the 5 districts outside, and he had already reached the peak of the Divine Master level. However, in the eyes of these 198 cultivators, he was just SOSO. Most of them had absolute confidence in defeating Lin Feng. This included the Thousand Illusions Lang Mu in the arena. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, the eyes lit up, instantly turning from 10 to 100. The 100 eyes had all sorts of colors. Thousand Illusions Lang Mu immediately executed the secret technique 100 Colors Demonic Illusions. It was dazzling like a kaleidoscope, causing people to be dazzled. The power of the Thousand Illusion Gem Tree's secret technique was related to the number of eyes used. The more eyes one used, the more powerful the illusion would be. Break. Lin Feng's willpower was tyrannical, and he broke Thousand Illusions Lang Mu's illusion almost instantly. The latter quickly retreated, but his reaction was also extremely fast. The weapon in his hand instantly split into 100 pieces, shattering into pieces like a rain of needles. Chi, chi, chi. 100 eyes, 100 needles to control. 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu was not only good at illusions, but he was also good at controlling treasures. This was his talent ability. However, just as Lin Feng had estimated, the ability to control treasures had high requirements for a heavenly Dao treasure, but the actual combat zone did not allow for a heavenly Dao treasure. In this aspect, 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu was at a disadvantage. In the survival zone, with the control of a peak heavenly Dao treasure, he could have defeated Lin Feng long ago. Rumble. The mega avalanche collapsed directly. Lin Feng ignored 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu's attack and countered it with attack. It was as fast as lightning. This was because Lin Feng knew clearly that it was foolish to waste time with his opponent. His opponent's strength was above his. Only by being fast would he have a chance to win. Damn it! 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu widened the distance. This time, it was 200 eyes that lit up. Lin Feng's body slightly paused, and he was slightly affected. However, he quickly broke through it again, and the attacks fell like a storm. Pung! 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 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu was in a difficult situation. He was not good at defense, and he did not have any defensive treasures in the actual combat zone. Facing Lin Feng's relentless attacks, 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu could only control his weapon to counterattack and retreat continuously. This guy's willpower is so strong. I have to use the 1,000 Realms Great Illusion to have a chance to win. 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu thought. However, his opponent was too tight, and he did not have a chance to use it. He could quickly use many secret techniques, but his opponent could break through them instantly. He did not care at all. Damn human! 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu was very unhappy. In the first round, he had encountered a ruthless scum, which made him very embarrassed. He originally wanted to win the first round cleanly and win the first victory for the Deicide training camp. Who would have thought that it would develop into this situation? Fight! 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu had already used all his strength. He took Lin Feng's attack head-on, and the weapon in his hand pierced through Lin Feng's defense like a storm. He was also forced back. Although they were both injured, at least they had pulled the distance apart. Enduring the pain, the 999 eyes on 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu's body all lit up. His face revealed a lofty expression, and he instantly erupted. The strongest 1,000 Realms Great Illusion was used. 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu had used this ultimate move to kill countless experts of the Hidden Saint training camp in the survival zone. But this time, it was like a mirror shattering. The illusion created by each eye was instantly broken. The biggest drawback of the illusion type was revealed. Facing an opponent with extremely strong willpower, the upper limit of the illusion type was not high, and the lower limit was also very low. Break for me. Lin Feng's eyes were clear, and his willpower broke through the 1,000 Realms Great Illusion in an instant. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with incomparable firmness and perseverance. The War Saber Di-en made the Great Avalanche concept even more solid and majestic. The power of the universe crashed down. No. 1,000 illusions. Lang Mu roared in his heart. However, after his 1,000 Realms Great Illusion was broken, not only did his strength suffer a setback, but his confidence was also greatly affected. Facing the majestic power of the Great Avalanche, he could no longer continue. Soon, he was killed and turned into a ray of light, disappearing from the duel arena. Congratulations to newcomer number 8484 for advancing to the second round of the roulette battle. The newcomer is rewarded with double the combat field cultivation time of 100 years. The voice of the top artificial intelligence sounded in his ear. Lin Feng was slightly surprised, but then he laughed. A pleasant surprise. He knew that the roulette battle did not reward Hidden Saint points, but he did not expect that there would be a combat field cultivation reward. The newcomer had double the 100 years, which was quite good. Chapter 2450. He won? He really won? The cultivators in the Hidden Elder training camp were stunned by the sudden news. Looking at the screen, they found it hard to believe that Lin Feng, a newbie, could defeat the super powerhouse of the deicide training camp, Lang Mu Thousand Illusions. Lang Mu Thousand Illusions was ranked 88th in the overall ranking of the two training camp. Ha ha ha, Lin Feng is so strong. Yeah, his attack and battle intent are not any worse than the deicide training camp. I didn't expect him to win. Those guys in the deicide training camp must be mad. They really think that our hidden elder training camp is meat on the chopping block. In the 5 regions, all the cultivators were beaming with joy. They were not willing to accept the defeat of the newbie king, but now their frowns were smoothed out. The outstanding performance of the newbie Lin Feng was like a shot in the heart of every cultivator in the hidden elder training camp, including those who were about to participate in the roulette battle. More or less, they were somewhat afraid of the deicide training camp. After all, the defeats in every era were still vivid in their minds. But now, a newbie had won so desperately. What was there to be afraid of? Fight. After Lin Feng, the hidden elder training camp's roulette battle experts began to fight. Their morale was high. However, the gap in strength was still very obvious. Although they were united, they still lost 68 out of 100 roulette battles, which was more than 2/3 of the total number. Especially the 3 king versus king rounds, they lost all of them. Whether it was the top or the average combat strength, the hidden elder training camp was completely defeated. The only one who won against the deicide training camp was this era. There were 2 super newbies in the hidden elder training camp. That's enough. Yes, 5 more wins than the last era. 32 wins is already the best record in the last 10 eras. In the hidden elder city, the reverends in charge of the combat zone spoke one after another. Losing was within their expectations. Therefore, the reverends didn't care too much. At least there was a clear improvement in this era. Not to mention, the deicide training camp had always followed the elite policy, so there weren't many reverends. Although the 7th Mercenary Alliance was not as good as the deicide training camp, the cultivators in the training camp were not worse than the other 3 giants. After the first round ended, the second round began. After the first round of cruel competition, the second round of battle was even more intense. As expected, Lin Feng was eliminated. After all, his combat strength had indeed reached the limit. Although defeating Thousand Illusions, Lang Mu did not rely on luck. It just so happened that their abilities countered each other. Facing most opponents who were good at close combat, Lin Feng was still lacking in this aspect. It doesn't matter. This is only the first era. After this battle, Lin Feng was even more confident. In the next era, his combat ability would definitely be stronger than it was now. Even if he couldn't comprehend the exquisite heavenly Tao like Huang Qinyan, he would definitely be able to comprehend the small success heavenly Tao of chaos and fuse it. Then, he would create an even stronger saber technique. At that time, he would have the ability to sprint to the top 25 in the roulette battle. At least there's a consolation prize. Lin Feng began to cultivate for 100 years in the combat domain. The newbie reward was double, allowing him to cultivate for another 100 years. This consolation reward was actually more valuable than 1,000 hidden revered points. In just 37 years, Lin Feng had comprehended the small success heavenly Tao of chaos. He had not tried to fuse it. Fusing it in the combat domain was a waste of time. The best way to use it in the combat domain was to comprehend the realm and heavenly Tao and learn various saber techniques and sword technique. He continued to comprehend the large success heavenly Tao of chaos. In terms of difficulty, the heavenly Tao of chaos was roughly similar to the heavenly Tao of intent. However, Lin Feng knew that with the perfect chaos body, he would have an easier time on the path of the heavenly Tao of chaos compared to other cultivators. Moreover, comprehending the heavenly Tao of chaos in the combat domain was better than comprehending the heavenly Tao of intent. He could enter the heavenly Tao of intent to comprehend it and also create new saber technique. However, the best place to comprehend the heavenly Tao of chaos was in the combat domain, or Diamond District. Lin Feng had already decided on his next target, the Diamond District, where a large number of demon and monster race experts gathered. However, this was not urgent, and he would have to wait for an era before he could change to another district. 100 years passed. Lin Feng's realm in the heavenly Tao of chaos had reached a higher level. He had already touched the edge of the large success heavenly Tao of chaos. He was not much inferior to Yan Handy, and his combat ability was stronger, because Lin Feng had the perfect chaos body, while Yan Handy only had an ordinary chaos body. Lin Feng did not care much about the results of the combat domain. The 3 defeats of king against king were enough to show that the current hidden revered training camp did not have the ability to challenge the God Slayer training camp's monopoly. In the final roulette battle, the hidden revered training camp would definitely be defeated. The winner would definitely be the God Slayer training camp. After all, in a real battle, there was no such thing as luck or luck. There is no need to rush in the dangerous heaven region. It will only be a waste of time if I go there before I have enough strength. Besides, I won't get many Qian revered points. Knowing the importance of Qian revered points, Lin Feng did not want to waste them. The completion rate was very important. 6911 Qian revered point. Go and squander them. Lin Feng smiled as he stepped into one of the top training facilities. With enough capital and confidence, he could strengthen himself in all aspects. Prepare for the survival domain. Look, isn't that the super newcomer Lin Feng? Wow, he went to the training facilities again? It seems like he hasn't stopped in the past 3,000 years. He has been training in all the training facilities. How many Qian revered points would he need to spend? Who knows, but he shouldn't lack Qian revered points. Newcomers in the combat domain get double the point. And with Lin Feng's strength, he can definitely go to the hunting domain. Plus the dangerous heaven region. No, Lin Feng seems to still be at the 35th checkpoint. Yes, I checked a while ago. Very smart. Lin Feng doesn't lack Qian revered points, so why would he go to the dangerous heaven region? When he gets stronger, he can go there. The completion rate will be higher and he will get more Qian revered points. I'm so jealous. He has so many Qian revered points. If I had that many, I would be in the top 10,000 of the training camp already. Tisk, if you have the ability, why don't you enter the combat domain roulette battle too? Lin Feng relies on his strength to earn Qian revered points. I'm just saying, it's really infuriating when you compare yourself to others. My brother Zhao is considered a top super genius in the Olei star field, but he became a passerby the moment he entered the training camp. He really can't take it. Lin Feng's fame spread like wildfire, especially when he defeated the God Slayer training camp in the roulette battle, which made many cultivators admire him. Moreover, he was low-key and humble. Although he was ranked second on the newcomer ranking, it was still the same. There were many envious people in the 5 regions, but there were also many admirers. The current Lin Feng was not only ranked second on the newcomer ranking, but also in the top 1,000 of the overall ranking. Quite outstanding. Chapter 2451. Lin Feng, I will catch up to you. I will pay you back 10 times for what you did to me in the survival domain. In the training facility, Yan Handy was madly cultivating. Yan Handy, the prince of the Devil clan, was incomparably arrogant. That day, he was directly eliminated by Lin Feng in the duel area, which left an indelible scar in his heart. Now, he had another target besides Huang Qinyan, and that was Lin Feng. His hostility and competition was even stronger than Huang Qinyan's. If he lost, he would win it back. Yan Handy was never a demon who couldn't accept defeat. According to the information, my current battle strength should be equal to Lin Feng. If I maintain this speed of improvement, I will be able to surpass him before the survival domain. His realm and comprehension are indeed slightly better than mine, but my bloodline and control of heavenly Tao treasures are definitely above his. Man Jiang waved his four swords, his eyes full of light. At this time, his ranking on the newcomer ranking list had already surpassed Yan Handy, occupying the third place. With abundant information and analysis, Man Jiang would always occupy a very high ranking on the ranking list. That day, the combat domain was not his strong point. I, Man Jiang, am determined to be the strongest newcomer. His strange eyes flashed. Man Jiang was full of fighting spirit. The newcomers were all cultivating hard. Different from the seniors in the training camp, the newcomers, especially outstanding newcomers like Yan Handy and Man Jiang, often had abundant potential revered points and could train crazily in the first era to improve their strength. As for Lin Feng and Huang Qinyan, they had even more potential revered points. The first era was the critical period for all newcomers to improve their strength, and also the period of time when they improved the fastest. Yan Handy was the same, Man Jiang was the same, and Lin Feng was the same. Boom! Boom! Turning the blade into a fist, Lin Feng cultivated hard and comprehended the heavenly Tao of chaos. Using his real body to attack, the power and comprehension of the heavenly Tao of the perfect Hundun body was naturally much stronger than an ordinary body. Especially when Lin Feng temporarily abandoned the blade to a fist, his comprehension was even more profound. There was only one goal: complete the heavenly Tao of chaos. The perfect Hundun body and the chaos strength heavenly Tao are a true combination that can yield twice the result with half the effort. Lin Feng could clearly feel the increase in his strength. It was calculated in years, and every year there would be a small increase. If I had such strength during the roulette battle, I could have won the second round. Lin Feng wasn't remorseful. He was convinced of his loss in the second round of the actual combat domain. His opponent was obviously stronger than him, but he had made significant progress in the past 3,000 years. He was no longer the ignorant person he used to be. It was not just the intent heavenly Tao and the chaos heavenly Tao. This included his mastery of pinnacle heavenly Tao treasures, his comprehension of the laws of light and darkness, his compatibility with the war saber imperial concealment, and so on. The survival zone was different from the combat zone. It was a real fight, and those without strength were destined to be eliminated. 6911 Qian revered points, 2850 Qian revered points over 3,000 years, and some rewards from training facilities. As of now, Lin Feng still had 4,061 Qian revered points. It was quite strong. This was the importance of the actual combat zone. If he hadn't wantonly collected Qian revered points in the actual combat zone, Lin Feng would have been exposed. How could he be so calm and focused on cultivation? It's time to go to the dangerous heavenly region. Lin Feng looked at the time and headed to the dangerous heavenly region. The Qian revered training camp was the last time the dangerous heavenly region would be open for 8,000 to 9,000 years in this era. For Lin Feng, who aspired to get a high score on the list, he couldn't miss it. Moreover, he had stayed in the training facilities for too long. He also wanted to move his body. He wanted to recomprehend the nature heavenly Tao and create a stronger saber technique. This was the last time the dangerous heavenly region would be open for him as a newcomer in this era. Universe Zone. Lin Feng is really not in a hurry. His ranking on the newcomer ranking list has fallen to 4th place. Yes, Yan Handy and Man Jiang have caught up again. The gap between the Qian revered points on the newcomer ranking list in the first era is huge. Is Lin Feng really not in a hurry? Or is he confident and wants to show off in the survival domain? The survival domain is not that simple. The powerhouses in the Godslayer training camp are all like wolves and tigers. He will be killed if he is careless. No matter how confident Lin Feng is in himself, I don't think he will put all his hopes on the survival domain. Maybe. Some genius powerhouses like to use absolute adversity to force themselves. I think Lin Feng is one of them. His success in the combat domain may have made him overestimate himself. The survival domain and the combat domain are not on the same level. He will cry when the time comes. Lin Feng had not shown up for a long time. Naturally, he attracted a lot of attention, especially when he had appeared out of nowhere in the combat domain, and now he had disappeared without a trace. It was hard not to be curious. Which newcomer did not care about the newcomer ranking list? The rewards were much worse. Moreover, the dangerous heavenly region also had a newcomer ranking list. Lin Feng had just reached level 35. It was definitely not his true strength. In the eyes of the cultivators, Lin Feng's strength was at least level 50 in the dangerous heavenly region. The dangerous heavenly region was the most direct indicator of one's strength. For example, Huang Qinyan, who was currently the strongest, was level 60 in the dangerous heavenly region. Man Jiang and Yen Handy were both level 55. In addition, there were many newcomers in the combat domain who had reached level 50. In the Godslayer training camp, one could not relax for a moment because these people were all elites of various astral realms. If one did not advance, one would retreat. Even Huang Qinyan would not always be high and mighty. Some newcomers might be late bloomers, some had buried their potential deep, and some had not yet shown their talent. There were too many possibilities. At this time, Lin Feng was deep in the dangerous heavenly region. Different from other cultivators, Lin Feng had a special feeling for the dangerous heavenly region. He knew that it was not only a place to earn hidden revered points, but also a rare place to comprehend. The seventh God realm had dense heavenly Tao laws. It could be found anywhere. The dangerous heavenly region was blessed by nature. It had rendered the heavenly Tao extremely pure. It was too wasteful to take risks just to get a score and pass the dangerous heavenly region. Perhaps it was a waste to choose one place and comprehend the natural heavenly region continuously. After all, the further one went, the more difficult it would be for the heavenly region to appear in the same place. However, there were gains and losses. It was up to the individual to choose. Lin Feng's mega avalanche had been raised to the extreme. Even if it was a level 35 mega avalanche, the heavenly Tao of concept was only at minute subtlety. He could not comprehend any exquisite concept. If he wanted to improve it, he would have to create new saber techniques and comprehend new heavenly Tao of concept. Minute subtlety was not where Lin Feng wanted to stay. He could not put all his eggs in one basket. Now that the mixed strength heavenly Tao had not reached phenomenal success, the improvement of the heavenly Tao of concept could not be delayed. Lin Feng had entered the world of concept many times, but what he really needed now was to experience it firsthand. The powerful heavenly Tao of concept above exquisite. Chapter 24:52. Landslides, tsunamis, storms. Lin Feng tried again and again. He did not choose directly like he did in the beginning of the mega avalanche. Now, he had a higher vision and experience, so he could choose the saber technique that was most suitable for him. Level 36, level 38, level 40. Lin Feng kept leveling up in the dangerous natural region. The completion rate was quite high. After all, his current combat power could easily pass the power coefficient below level 50. Last one. When I reach level 41, I must choose one of them. Lin Feng was shocked. The further he progressed in the dangerous natural region, the more difficult it would be. He was afraid that he would not be strong enough to comprehend it. Although he did not want to compromise, he could not reach the sky in one step. He had to find the most suitable natural region with the deepest comprehension. Even if it was just a stepping stone, it would be quite good. It's quite beautiful here. Suddenly, Lin Feng stepped into a beautiful area. The landscape was picturesque, and the sky was like a curtain covering the ground. Together with the calm lake and forest, it was like a natural work of art. It was quiet and tranquil. Taking a deep breath, Lin Feng enjoyed the freshness of nature. He felt as if he could touch the blue sky when he reached out his hand. He was integrated into this perfect world. That kind of peace in his heart made him very satisfied. This was also a part of the dangerous natural region. What would be the natural region here? Lin Feng was also very curious. According to his understanding of the dangerous natural region, the natural regions were not only natural phenomena. There were also some horrors that existed in the universe's secret realms, and even some man-made trap. There would be natural regions in every place. There shouldn't be any natural phenomena here. It's unlikely that the universe's secret realms are scary. It should be man-made trap. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. He shook his head and was ready to leave. He did not want to waste the level 41 dangerous natural region on trap. Perhaps he could get a high completion rate because of this, but it would not help him improve his strength at all. Natural phenomena were what he was pursuing. Secondly, the horrors of the universe's secret realms were often not seen by him. It was very likely that he would be inspired when creating saber technique. However, sometimes things did not go as planned. When you wanted it to come, it would not come. When you did not want it to come, it would come. Swish! The originally clear blue sky instantly changed color. It was like a person who was suddenly happy suddenly had a face full of anger. Lin Feng, who was just about to leave, helplessly stopped. After experiencing so many dangers, he naturally knew what had happened. He had triggered a level 41 hazardous heavenly region. It's going to go to waste. Although Lin Feng lamented, he had already made preparations in an instant. Since he couldn't avoid it, then he would strive for a high completion rate. It was better than nothing. At the very least, he wouldn't waste any Qian revered point. Buzz. Sizzle. There seemed to be an endless magnetic field in the sky, causing the surrounding space to change. It was as if there were electric snakes appearing, shattering the space and destroying the atmosphere of Ning Yi's painting. What is it? Lin Feng was also curious. Why did it seem like a natural phenomenon? But what natural phenomenon could there be in such a picturesque place? Just as he was thinking, suddenly, a pure white light beam came from the distance in a straight line. Its speed had completely exceeded the speed of light. It tore through the space like a sharp arrow, piercing through Lin Feng's heart. Swish! Lin Feng, who was already prepared, easily dodged. His eyes slightly lit up. As soon as he dodged, another pure white light beam came through. The attack was not fancy at all. It was absolute speed. It tore through the space. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. A straight line was the fastest way to attack. Swish! 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 The white light beam kept attacking. Lin Feng quickly dodged. It was as if Lin Feng had entered a training facility. Although the dense light beams were fast and powerful, they were still far away. Moreover, they were only at level 41 in the dangerous natural region. For Lin Feng, it was not too difficult to dodge them. So it's Aurora. A name appeared in Lin Feng's mind. The universe Aurora didn't only exist in natural phenomena. It also existed in various universe secret realms. It had its own universe law and power. Legend had it that the strongest universe Aurora could even kill night. This beautiful area also had a beautiful aurora. On the surface of Lin Feng's body, the lines of light vibrated slightly. With the godly pattern of light, Lin Feng resonated with everything about light. The process of dodging was also a process of comprehension. His gaze locked onto the sky of Aurora. It was a clear concept of the heavenly Tao. With the rhythm of the godly pattern of light, his comprehension became clearer. Everything is destined. I'll name the new blade technique Aurora. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. At this moment, he knew that he had found the new blade technique that he had been searching for, Aurora. Lin Feng was a simple and direct person. Once he found a target, he wouldn't hesitate anymore. Instead, he would take action. His powerful execution ability made him successful in every endeavor. From level 41 onwards, the comprehension of the Aurora Saber technique would appear once every 20 years or so. It was a level 41 power coefficient, and it was a linear speed aurora. The level 42 power coefficient was an arc-shaped aurora. Although the speed was reduced, the arc of light was impossible to guard against. When it evolved into a sword move, it was naturally more suitable for combat than a linear sword technique that pursued pure speed. Level 43 power coefficient was a straight line and arc-type aurora. The alternating attacks allowed the blade technique to have a range of speed changes. The initiative of the attack was in the hands of the user. It was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, sometimes strong and sometimes weak. Level 48 power coefficient was a single-point explosion-type aurora. Every attack would condense countless auroras explosion. The attack was condensed on a single point. Aurora's light was condensed to the extreme, and the instant explosion was even more terrifying. Level 49 power coefficient was Aurora's crown. The crown was like a hat. Aurora turned into a huge crown and enveloped Lin Feng. Countless aurora shot out from all directions from the huge crown. There were straight lines and arcs, tearing and hurricanes. All kinds of aurora appeared, mixed with control and attack. It was terrifying. Level 50 power coefficient was Aurora's black hole. Countless aurora appeared at the same time and exploded instantly. All kinds of Aurora's horror accumulated to the extreme in an instant. The entire space, even the flow of particles, collapsed into a black hole, swallowing everything. Boom! Lin Feng lay on the ground, unable to fight anymore. The level 50 Aurora's black hole was comparable to other level 60 natural hazard. If he hadn't improved a lot in the past 3,000 years, he wouldn't have been able to resist it. But even so, he had used up the last of his strength to barely block the extremely powerful Aurora's black hole. He had reached his limit. Chapter 24:53. There was an uproar in the hidden Zune training camp. Many cultivators noticed that Lin Feng's ranking had returned to the top 1,000 of the training camp. At the same time, he had returned to second place from the 4th level, surpassing Yen Handy and Man Jiang again. Although Yen Handy and Man Jiang's levels in the dangerous natural region were higher than Lin Feng's, and they had accumulated a lot of points in the hunting zone. But in the combat zone, Lin Feng's score had far surpassed the two. Now that he had reached level 50 in the dangerous natural region, the score given by the top AI had increased greatly. Naturally, he had returned to his original position. Originally, after the combat zone ended, Lin Feng's ranking had reached the top 1,000 of the training camp. But because he had been cultivating in seclusion for 3,000 years, his score hadn't increased much. But his strength wouldn't decrease because of that. On the contrary, Lin Feng's combat strength had far surpassed that of 3,000 years ago. In the top 1,000 of the combat zone, he had passed level 60 in the dangerous natural region. In the hidden Zune training camp, there was a general level of combat strength, peak Divine Lord Invincible. Basically, all the cultivators in the top 100 of the combat zone were peak Divine Lord Invincible. Only Lin Feng was an exception. But now, Lin Feng had indeed reached this level. The 7th Hidden Zune Conference was being held in the Xing Feng astral realm. The 5 giants and other forces had gathered the strongest newcomers in the past 100 eras. Among them, the strongest was the super genius recruited by the Universe Bank 10 eras ago, Wu Yun. His strength was close to peak Divine Lord Invincible. Of course, no one knew how strong Lin Feng was now, except for the sovereigns in the hidden Zune city, because he had only reached level 50 in the dangerous natural region. This level was normally the peak Divine Lord limit in the hidden Zune training camp. Lin Feng's true combat strength has completely surpassed Yen Handy and Man Jiang, Huang Zun said. When the combat zone ended, His combat strength wasn't as good as Yan Handy and Man Jiang, Huang Zun said. How can it be the same? More than 3,000 years have passed. For those true geniuses, 3,000 years is enough to increase their combat strength. Nie Huang Zun said, You know how Lin Feng was when he first entered the hidden Zun training camp. Huang Zun nodded. Back then, Lin Feng's combat strength wasn't even close. After the actual combat zone ended, the deputy region governors who were in charge of the actual combat zone became idle and began to track and analyze the outstanding newcomers. Huang Qinyan, Lin Feng, Yan Handy, and Man Jiang were naturally their main targets of observation. These observations had to be reported to Sovereign Buki because they were very important. But Zun Huang Zun. Zun. It's not the same. Their basic conditions are too different. If Lin Feng is given another era, he will definitely surpass Huang Qinyan. I don't think so. Lin Feng's potential is good, but potential is still potential. At the beginning of the improvement period, I think it's because Lin Feng came from a remote astral boundary that he could improve so quickly. But to surpass Huang Qinyan, I don't think he can do it, at least not at this stage. Moreover, don't you think he's practicing too many things? Huang Zun discussed animatedly. They had been tracking Lin Feng's cultivation for some time. Indeed, Lin Feng's cultivation was very varied and complicated. For a newbie with potential who aspired to become a venerable one, focusing on the path that he was best at was the right thing to do. Huang Zun said, After all, Huang Qinyan comes from a prestigious family and her bloodline is noble. It's a bit unfair to compete now. When she becomes a venerable, it'll be the real beginning. By then, we'll know who's stronger and who's weaker. With her current combat power, although Huang Qinyan had only reached level 60 in the dangerous natural domain, Huang Zun knew that she had the ability to reach level 65 in the dangerous natural domain. As a super newbie that appeared once in a millennium, as long as Huang Qinyan performed well in the survival domain, her final ranking in the training camp of the first millennium would be. He would definitely enter the top 100. The top 100 had the battle prowess of a venerable. In comparison, the current Lin Feng was still quite a distance away. Let's wait and see. I feel that, in the next era, or the era after that, Huang Qinyan might be ranked first in both training camps. I think so too. Although Yiya, the super newbie of the Deicide training camp, is strong, I still think Huang Qinyan's talent is more amazing. She deserves the title of super genius of the millennium. We've been suppressed by the Deicide training camp for too long. How many eras has it been since we tasted the taste of first place? Haha, it's been too long. I'm tired of seeing those bastards in the Deicide training camp acting all high and mighty. This time, let's see how Huang Qinyan can hold our heads high for us. Lin Feng, Yan Handy, and Man Jiang also have the possibility of entering the top 10 in both training camps in the future. In a few eras, when this batch of newbies grows up, it'll be great. Huang Zun said with a smile. They had been suppressed by the Deicide training camp for more than 100 eras. Everyone was one of the 5 giants who didn't have a temper. Dangerous natural domain, from level 35 to level 50. Lin Feng obtained 1836 hidden venerable point. It wasn't little and definitely exceeded the average standard of the hidden venerable training camp. However, it wasn't much because Lin Feng had the ability to obtain more. From level 35 to level 43, Lin Feng's completion rate was very high. But as he continued to farm Aurora, the difficulty began to increase and the completion rate gradually decreased. At level 50, its power was comparable to other level 60 natural domains. At the limit of Lin Feng's strength, the completion rate was naturally very low. However, it was enough. 5897. Lin Feng looked at the Qian revered points in the Qian revered Luo crystal. He didn't care if it was a few hundred more or a few hundred less. If he could get a complete set of Aurora intent heavenly Tao in the dangerous heaven region, he would be willing to pay a few thousand qian revered points. If you lose something, you gain something. First, I'll go to the perfect formation of time for a few hundred years. Then I'll go to the intent world. Lin Feng had a clear idea. The perfect formation of time could perfectly use time. 10 times of aurora, 10 different types of intent world could be used to create 10 different types of saber technique. The intent world was the perfection realm Dao that improved the saber techniques to perfection. Of course, this period of time required a lot of hidden venerable points because the intent world was very expensive. But he could afford it. His goal was to create a saber technique stronger than the Great Avalanche before entering the survival domain. That way, he would be able to increase his strength and have a stronger survivability in the life and death battle. Thousands of gold would come back again. There was no need to save hidden venerable points now. The hidden venerable points in the dangerous natural domain and the hunting domain weren't much. The efficiency was far lower than the combat domain and the survival domain. Now that he was a newbie, the hidden venerable points in the combat domain and the survival domain were double. This kind of advantage would only come once. Chapter 2454. 9,000 years. The Hidden Saint training camp closed for the last time in the dangerous heavenly region, and the treasure region opened for the last time. A group of cultivators gave it their all for the final ranking. They entered the treasure region, and even the hunting region to increase their overall strength. They were preparing for the final trial in the survival region. Most of the newcomers didn't have a death immortal puppet. 500 hidden revered points for one. Not everyone could afford it, and not everyone was willing to do so. There were also many geniuses who purposely didn't exchange for the death immortal puppet to force themselves to be at their strongest. The newcomer ranking was in chaos again. Yan Handi's level in the dangerous natural region increased from 55 to 59. She surpassed Lin Feng on the newcomer ranking and took the second place. Menyan's level in the dangerous natural region also increased from 55 to 57. However, she didn't surpass Lin Feng and was still in fourth place. 5 newcomers appeared below. They were all level 55 in the dangerous natural region. It was very lively. There were a total of 95 newcomers above level 50 in the dangerous natural region. It was quite shocking. This meant that they all had the battle power of a peak god lord. Lin Feng was also one of them. However, he was still at level 50 and was only in the upper middle of level 50. This meant that he didn't have the highest number of hidden revered points. Actually, Lin Feng is only good in the combat domain. His battle power isn't high. Yeah, there's some luck in the combat domain. The dangerous natural region's level won't lie. After all, most people go there themselves. Lin Feng has plenty of time to fight for the newcomer ranking. If he can reach a higher level, there's no reason for him to stop at level 50. Level 50 and 51 are different. It's not that easy to break through. Plus, Lin Feng didn't get many hidden revered points in the dangerous natural region. If you don't believe me, you can take a look at the dangerous natural region ranking. There are many cultivators who are like dragons in the combat domain and turn back into insects in the survival domain. Lin Feng is probably one of them. There's no way around it. He's just a human. Human cultivators are strong because of their large numbers and high comprehension. They have a lot of potential in all areas. However, rather than saying that they're multifaceted, it's better to say that they're mediocre and ordinary. Yeah, the human bloodline is too ordinary. Look at Huang Qinyan, Yan Handi, Man Jiang. Which one of them doesn't have a noble bloodline? There's nothing to fight for in the newcomers' ranking. Huang Qinyan is way ahead, and she'll definitely get the first place. She's already the first in the dangerous heavenly region. Which newcomer can shake the level 65 ranking? Although Pu Kiki is level 75 now, she was only level 65 at the start of this era. As the ranking of the dangerous heavenly region was settled, the strength of the practitioners became clear. The ranking in the dangerous natural region was very important to both the ranking list and the newcomer ranking list. Because there were a lot of scores in it, there was more than enough time in the dangerous natural region. Of course, every bit of progress counted. After all, these were all honorable points, and this was basically used as a rough estimate of the combat strength of the survival zone. Therefore, Lin Feng's current rating was very unremarkable. He was only number 66 in the dangerous heavenly region's newcomer ranking list. There was a big gap between him and number 3 on the newcomers ranking list. Therefore, the rumors that Lin Feng was good at the combat zone but had an ordinary bloodline talent and was not good at the survival zone were not baseless. But to be honest, even if Lin Feng was only level 50 in the dangerous heavenly region, being number 66 in the newcomers ranking list was already a very good result. If a newcomer could be number 66 in the previous era, he would definitely enter the top 1000 in the training camp in the next era or the one after that. There was also a chance for him to enter the top 100. The main reason was that Lin Feng was a human. Moreover, his performance in the combat zone was too dazzling, which imperceptibly raised the other practitioners' expectations of him. Of course, Lin Feng's combat strength was not limited to this. However, the dangerous heavenly region's rating and ranking were not as important to Lin Feng as the saber technique Aurora. I've almost mastered the first move of Aurora, absolute speed. Lin Feng raised his saber and slashed down. Rays of straight white light burst out under the influence of the way of the heavenly Tao of minute subtlety. I haven't mastered the second move of Aurora, crescent moon. The second move of the Aurora saber technique, the arc was perfect like a crescent moon. Therefore, Lin Feng named it Aurora Crescent Moon. The left and right arcs could be controlled at will, and even the upper and lower arcs could catch the opponent off guard. The white light flashed like a beautiful crescent moon. It was much more beautiful than the first move, Aurora, absolute speed. The third move of Aurora, full moon. The fourth move of Aurora, viper. The fifth move of Aurora, mad dragon. Lin Feng had comprehended all of them and improved them in the way of the heavenly Tao. However, the creation of the last 5 moves of Aurora was much more difficult. After all, the 5 levels of the dangerous heaven domain were 1 level. The last 5 moves were from level 46 to level 50. Naturally, the way of the heavenly Tao was more profound than the first 5 moves. Moreover, the natural phenomenon of Aurora was more complicated. Before entering the survival realm, I must perfectly master the second move, Aurora, crescent moon. Otherwise, my attack method will be too simple if I only rely on Aurora, absolute speed. From the third to the 5th moves, the prerequisite is to master the second move. The fusion of the way of the heavenly Tao of intent. Now, he had to integrate the way of the heavenly Tao of mixed strength and the 9 levels of light and darkness. The reason why he valued Aurora was the fusion of the 9 levels of light and darkness. After all, it was a type of light. Lin Feng could not only use it with ease, but it could also strengthen its power. The survival realm is much more difficult than the combat realm. From the beginning, I will mix with the experts of the deicide training camp and fight indiscriminately. Not only do I have to be careful of the deicide training camp's cultivators, but I also have to be careful of the cultivators in my own training camp. My current ranking in the deicide training camp is 975. That's about my level. Although there aren't many cultivators stronger than me, many of them don't move alone. Moreover, the average strength of the deicide training camp is much higher than ours. Both ranked 975, the deicide training camp's cultivators would definitely be stronger than him. Moreover, he had no experience in the survival realm. I'll make sure to enter the top 10,000. Lin Feng would be lying if he said he had no ambition. His results in the combat realm made him have high hopes for the survival realm. He even wanted to catch up with Huang Qinyan's newcomer ranking and become the top newcomer. Glory was one thing, but the most important thing was the first place on the newcomer ranking. The reward was 5,000 Qian Zun point. The second place was only 3,000 Qian Zun point. The third place was 2,000 Qian Zun point. If I can enter the top 1,000 and Huang Qinyan fails, I might be able to surpass her. Lin Feng had a desire. He hadn't experienced the survival realm, and neither had Huang Qinyan. There was still 1,000 years left. He still had time to improve. Definitely. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he continued to research and create new moves. His goal was the first place on the newcomer ranking. To get 5,000 Qian Zun points. Chapter 2455. The last 900 years. In the hidden Zun training camp, the competition was intense. The training facilities were overcrowded. Only a small number of people entered the treasure zone to earn points. Most of the cultivators were sharpening their swords to prepare for the survival zone. In every era, the final and most crucial battle would take place. The most direct collision between the two training camps. Every time, a large number of talented newcomers would die in the survival zone. But at the same time, many cultivators would emerge from the flames of war, be reborn, and even become venerables. A battle of life and death was the simplest and most direct way to break through. Either die or live. Trout Dragon, Taigan Decidua. Pu Kiki looked at the ranking list of the dangerous zone and then looked at the total score list of the two training camp. He felt depressed. Since he entered the camp, these two mountains had been suppressing him. Even now, as the strongest cultivator in the hidden Zun training camp, he still couldn't climb over these two mountains. They were firmly in the top 2 of all the rankings. 1 Trout Dragon, number 10, level 90 in the dangerous zone. 2 Taigan Decidua, number 1, level 89 in the dangerous zone. 3 Binxi, number 88, level 85 in the dangerous zone. 7 Han Li Dao Wang, number 444, level 76 in the dangerous zone. 8 Pu Kiki, number 12, level 75 in the dangerous zone. 10 Ishio, number 19770, level 75 in the dangerous zone. The ranking of the dangerous heavenly region was almost set. Although the god-slaying training camp still had 900 years to refresh, the hidden Zun training camp was running out of time in this era. Compared to the beginning of this era, the gap was further widened. Although Pu Kik's score had increased by 10 levels, from 65 to 75, Trout Dragon and Taigan Decidua had also increased by 10 levels. Moreover, their increase of 10 levels was much more difficult than Pu Kik's. Level 80 in the dangerous zone was a milestone. It meant that the cultivator was as strong as a venerables. It also meant that they could get the ultimate heavenly path treasure as a great gift. But it was difficult to get. Zhong Yin, who ranked first in the last era, was only level 77 in the dangerous zone. Pu Kiki tried to reach level 76 but failed. Maybe I can get it next year. Pu Kiki looked at the top 10 rankings of the two training camp. Ishio had appeared out of nowhere in this era. In the last era, his total score was only around 1,000, but in this era, he had already reached the 5th place in the ranking list. He was ranked 2nd in the dangerous natural region of the hidden Supreme training camp. The hidden Zun training camp only occupied 2 of the top 10 spots in the dangerous heaven region. Similarly, there were only 2 spots on the ranking board. It could be said that the God Slayer training camp had completely crushed them. As the top scorer of the hidden Zun training camp, Pu Kiki had to leave the hidden Zun training camp in this era. This was the rule, and he didn't plan on staying any longer, because as long as he wanted to, he could break through and become a venerable at any time. The bottleneck had been crossed. A task that surpasses the difficulty of the God Slayer training camp. Leave it to the latecomers. Pu Kiki smiled in relief. He had tried his best, so there was nothing he could do if he couldn't complete it. There's a talent in the next era, or the super newcomer, Huang Qinyan? Pu Kiki smiled and continued with her cultivation. In the universe area, a fiery phoenix was dancing beautifully. Her sword technique was like a rainbow. Beautiful sword lights appeared in the void, carrying the pure phoenix fire and burning the exquisite heavenly Tao. Huang Qinyan, who was at level 65 in the dangerous heaven region, had perfect control of her bloodline and a peak heavenly Tao treasure. Although she wasn't good at strength, she had unparalleled talent and comprehension. Her battle strength had reached the level of a peak almighty. However, she had never stopped her footstep. She was clear about her identity and the burden she carried. She wanted to restore the glory of her family. Mother, Qinyan will work harder. Huang Qinyan's beautiful face flashed with incomparable determination. Losing to Yaya in combat didn't make her lose confidence. Being the top newcomer of the Hidden Zone training camp didn't make her feel proud. Because these were not important to Huang Qinyan. She only had one goal, and that was to become the strongest in the training camp. In the King Kong area, a demon man with half of his body red and the other half green was crazily cultivating. The muscles all over his body seemed to be exploding. The power of the chaos body was condensed to the limit. Every attack was like a star collapsing. I finally grasped it. This is the great success of the chaos heavenly Tao. Ah! Yen Handy screamed crazily and hysterically. After consuming countless hidden Zune points, he finally touched the edge of the great success of the chaos heavenly Tao and stepped over that step. He was ready to fight in the survival domain. Huang Qinyan, this prince has finally caught up to you. Human Lin Feng, we'll meet again in the survival domain. As the prince of the Yanhandi demon clan, Yanhandi had pride, but in the training camp, he was trampled again and again. First, he was thrown to the back of his mind by Huang Qinyan, then he was surpassed by Man Jiang, and then he was defeated by Lin Feng in the combat domain. To Yanhandi, it was an incomparable humiliation. Humiliation after humiliation stared at Yen Handy's arrogant self-esteem. Finally, he broke out of his cocoon and was reborn. I want all cultivators to know that I, Yanhandi, am the prince of the Yanhandi demon clan, is the true strongest newcomer. Time region, space region, and other regions. It wasn't just newcomers in the 5 regions. Every cultivator was preparing for the survival domain battle. Because it would decide the final score, deciding whether they would stay or leave. Those in the top 100,000 would become level 1 geniuses. Those in the top 10,000 would become super geniuses and enjoy the treatment of super geniuses. Those in the top 100 would be taken in as disciples by the sovereigns. Those in the top 3 would become the focus of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Not to mention the number 1. Every cultivator had their own goals and pursuit. For example, Wang Sun, who was in the same region as Lin Feng. His goal was to enter the top 100 and be taken in as a disciple by the sovereigns. For example, Kabishing's goal was to enter the top 10,000 and become a super geniuses. As for Yuan Xiu, he was working hard to enter the top 100,000 and give himself a perfect ending as a newcomer in the first era. At this moment, Lin Feng was also working hard. For the survival domain, to become the number 1 newcomer in this era, he spent a large amount of Qian Zune points to enter one top-level training facility after another. Soul Control Secret Palace, the training facility that used up the most Qian Zune points. 100 Qian Zune points, 20 years. The huge threshold and consumption of Qian Zune points made all cultivators stop. But at this moment, there was a human youth who was bitterly training. He had already been in there for 100 years. Finally, I succeeded. Joyful laughter echoed within the Soul Control Secret Palace. Chapter 2456. Kuan Ling Heart Arrow, Level 9. 9 soul arrows shot out at the same time, consuming 90% of his soul energy. Combined with his powerful soul energy, their power increased exponentially, enough to kill a high-level Divine Lord and severely injure a peak Divine Lord. This was the most direct soul attack. Compared to illusions, although soul attacks could kill 10,000 enemies and injure 8,000 oneself, there was an extremely high upper and lower limit. Lin Feng's soul energy was exceptionally strong, and he had a powerful will. With the help of a chaos supreme treasure like the 10,000 origin mustard stone, he was much more terrifying than an ordinary soul cultivator's attack. Kuan Ling Heart Arrow only has the power for one attack, but it's my trump card. Peak Divine Lords might be divided into the top Divine Lords, the Peak Divine Lords, and the Peak Divine Lords who are invincible, but this is only a difference in combat power. They are all at the same level of life. With my Kuan Ling Heart Arrow and 90% of my soul energy, unless the cultivator has an exceptionally strong soul energy or has a soul defense supreme treasure, they will die without a doubt. A top-tier Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure was almost negligible. Lin Feng had absolute confidence. This was because he had already completely mastered the Shattered Soul Kill Tome, a peak-tier Heavenly Tao treasure that was capable of soul attack. Not only did it have the ability to strengthen soul attacks, but it also had the ability to destroy the opponent's soul defense supreme treasure. Of course, this was in a one-on-one situation. If it was a one-on-one battle, and he had less than 10% of his soul energy left after killing an opponent with his soul attack, it would be troublesome. But no matter what, he now had a trump card, and it was a top-tier trump card. My current battle power is at least 3,000 in the 2 training camps. But the number of cultivators who can survive this move is at most in the double digits in the 2 training camp. There were many special life forms with powerful bloodlines in the training camp. Their bodies and soul structures were different from ordinary humans, demons, monsters, and foreign race experts. The Shattered Soul Kill Book was a functional Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure, and its strongest ability was to destroy the opponent's soul defense. As for its ability to strengthen soul attacks, it was only average. Therefore, it might not be able to kill those special life forms with powerful souls. But even if it's just severely injuring them, it's enough. One soul attack and I'll kill them until they fall asleep. Lin Feng smiled. How strong was he in a one-on-one battle? With the 9th stage of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow and the Shattered Spirit Kill Book, there were no more than 10 people in the entire Hidden Zone training camp who could defeat him. After we get out, I'll exchange for some soul recovery treasures. Lin Feng continued to cultivate. Every time he used the Soul Control Secret Palace, it would cost 100 Qian Zun points, and he only had 20 years of cultivation time. Even though Lin Feng was rich and had a lot of Qian Zun points, he still couldn't bear to enter 5 times in a row. Back then, when he had improved his soul control and cultivated the 8th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow, he had only entered it twice, and the first time was free. But this time, he had to enter it 5 times, spending 500 Qian Zun points. My soul control is far from enough. I can't control those pinnacle Heavenly Tao cardinal treasures. Lin Feng knew very well that his soul was strong, but just like the Chaos Force, he had to cultivate. If one had talent but did not cultivate, it would be a waste of words. Fortunately, soul attacks didn't require too much control. It was more about the quality and purity of the soul itself. Simply put, it was talent. Even so, cultivating the 9th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow took a lot of effort, and he could barely control it. Because using the 9th level of the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow left him with only 10% of his soul power. A truly strong soul control can easily control 99% of one's soul power with just 1%. Lin Feng had broadened his horizons in the Soul Control Secret Palace. He had seen the strength of those cultivators with strong soul control, and it was truly amazing. When they used the pinnacle Heavenly Tao cardinal treasures, their power was more than just strong. One day, I'll be able to reach that level. Lin Feng had a very deep desire for soul control. This was because he had a supreme treasure of the chaos, the Great Wall. It seemed as though he could control souls as well. But he would have to wait until he became a sovereign. After reaching a bottleneck in the creation of the saber technique, Lin Feng didn't continue. Sometimes, if one was too focused on breaking through the bottleneck, the more chaotic one's mind was, the harder it would be to succeed. Instead, if he split his mind to do other things and changed his mindset, he might gain new insight. Perfect Time Array, Concept Heaven and Earth, Cardinal Treasure Analysis Center. Lin Feng went in and out of all the top-notch training settings, not caring about the consumption of hidden revered points. Even if he couldn't get first place in the newcomer ranking, he would at least be in the top 3. Third place would also be rewarded with 2,000 hidden revered points. Plus, he would get double the reward for the newcomers in the survival zone. He definitely wouldn't lack hidden revered points in the next era. The last 300 years, Lin Feng went into the Cardinal Treasure Analysis Center. This was a place he hadn't been to often before. Because mastering the Cardinal Treasure was a natural thing, he didn't need to be too deliberate. But now, he still needed to make some effort. He had been there many times when he mastered the Shattered Spirit Kill Book. He had to admit that mastering a Pinnacle Heavenly Tao Cardinal Treasure was indeed much easier. Other Pinnacle Heavenly Tao Cardinal Treasures aside, he still had 2 Pinnacle Heavenly Tao Cardinal Treasures that he hadn't fully mastered yet. War Saber Diin, War Armor Fallen Barbarian Armor. One for offense and one for defense. Different from the Kuan Ling Heart Arrow, these were the weapons he relied on to survive and kill. One for offense and one for defense. Especially War Saber Diin, it directly determined the level of his combat strength. I haven't even used 10% of War Saber Diin's true strength. I've only activated 4 layers of inscriptions, 2 of which were activated by Diin himself. I need to activate at least the 5th layer of inscriptions in the remaining time. If possible, it would be best if I could activate the 6th layer as well. The Perished Barbarian Armor has 3 layers of defense and 2 special skills. Currently, I've only activated the 1st layer of defense. Next, I need to activate the 2nd layer of defense and master the 1st special skill, Barbarian Block. Lin Feng didn't rely on the Perished Barbarian Armor, because he was good at offense, but the survival zone had the word survival in it. There were dangers everywhere, and it wasn't always a perfect plan. Most of the time, he had to passively resist the dangers. If he could increase his defense, he naturally had to do so. The 2 special skills were Barbarian Block and Perished Barbarian Armor. Barbarian Block was very effective against pure strength attacks, such as soul power and attack momentum. It was a basic special skill of the Perished Barbarian Armor. Perished Barbarian Armor was much more difficult. It had a very strong defense against time and space attack. It was an ultimate special skill and was extremely difficult to master. Right now, it was more reliable to master the 2nd layer of defense and the basic special skill, Barbarian Block. Chapter 2457. The survival domain and the battle domain were completely different. One was a real battle, while the other was a virtual space controlled by a top-level AI. Only in the survival domain was one's true battle strength. Combining the Heavenly Path treasure, one's bloodline talent, and any other conditions, one's performance on the battlefield, one's strength in the face of life and death, etc. This was the true battlefield to train the strong. Therefore, even if a large number of geniuses died in the survival domain every era, the God-slaying training camp and hidden revered training camp didn't care at all. A true expert had to face life and death directly. It's about time. Lin Feng left the Treasure Analysis Center. This was one of the cheapest training facilities in the camp. It only cost 10 Qian revered points to enter for 50 years. He spent 300 years in there and spent 60 Qian revered points. Compared to the Soul Control Secret Hall, it was nothing. I only have 3,987 Qian revered points left. Lin Feng sighed. Qian revered points came and went quickly. He relied on the battle domain to earn a lot. Otherwise, the Qian revered points from the dangerous natural region would be far from enough. Newbies were the fastest to earn Qian revered point. In this era, he had to do his best to earn Qian revered point. In the next era, there wouldn't be double rewards, and it would be his second time entering the battle domain and survival domain, so he wouldn't get as many Qian revered points. Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. Survival domain. Normal special class geniuses would have a death immortal puppet. Other geniuses might not have it. Some performed well in the dangerous natural region or the battle domain, so they could exchange for Qian revered points. Some were lucky enough to find treasures in the treasure domain and exchange them for Qian revered points. Dying in the battle domain meant no loss. However, if one were to die in the survival domain, the lightest loss would be a death immortal puppet worth 500 Qian revered points, and the worst-case scenario would be death. Of course, one didn't have to kill to enter the survival domain. As long as one could survive, they would pass. Obtaining a survival crystal or earning 100 survival points would be considered as completing the mission. Everyone had their own goals. Not all cultivators pursued high scores and rankings. Some just wanted to pass the test of the survival domain smoothly. A survival crystal is worth 100 Qian revered points. Level 2 geniuses can exchange for 10 survival crystals. Level 1 geniuses can exchange for 20 survival crystals. A special class genius can be exchanged for up to 30 survival crystals. Newbies get double. Lin Feng carefully read the rules of the survival domain. Even though he had already read through it several times and memorized it in his heart, there was no harm in reading it a few more times. He was afraid that he might miss something or violate some rules. Killing is not restricted in the survival field. The two training camps can even kill the trainees of their own training camps, but your score will be deducted. Although there were not many rules in the survival field, everything you did would be recorded by the top AI. The deduction of points is a small matter, but the venerables of the 7th Mercenary Alliance will have a bad impression of your actions. Is it to let us know that we shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but we shouldn't let our guard down? Lin Feng could roughly guess the purpose of the rules. There were too many cases of people killing each other for benefits, even if they belonged to the same faction. It was hard to tell what was in a person's heart, not to mention that the human race wasn't the only race in a faction. There were monsters, devils, special life forms, and other alien races. Sometimes it was indeed necessary to be careful. Kill the trainees of the other training camp and obtain survival points. Survival points can be checked in the hidden Zun Luo crystal at any time. Every time a trainee enters the survival field, the top AI will calculate their initial survival points based on your score, danger field ranking, and your current level. The highest is 10,000, the lowest is 1. Complete the kill. Obtain half the survival points of the trainees of the other training camp. 10th year in the survival field, automatically obtain 10 survival points. 20th year in the survival field, automatically obtain 20 survival points. 30th year in the survival field, automatically obtain 30 survival points. 40th year in the survival field, automatically obtain 40 survival points. Only when you are killed will your initial survival points be calculated. Lin Feng continued reading. Survival points were the same as survival crystals. They could be exchanged for hidden Zun points, but it was a bit more troublesome to exchange for survival points. The survival field encouraged killing, especially when the trainees of the other training camps were involved. It would create a strong smell of gunpowder. 2 training camps, 2 giants, who would be willing to admit defeat. The God Slayer training camp's trainees might be stronger individually, but the hidden Zun training camp's trainees were more numerous. Let's see who's stronger. The survival field had always been like this. The hidden Zun training camp rarely had any solo trainees. They usually moved in groups of a few or even a dozen. Not only did they have the advantage in numbers, they could also defend themselves. After all, they only needed to stay in the survival field for 40 years to obtain 100 survival points and successfully complete the survival field test. At that time, they could choose to stay or leave. But he would definitely act alone. If he entered the survival field just to survive, it would be too boring. Since he was participating, he had to give it his all, not to mention he had already prepared everything. The God Slayer training camp's trainees loved killing and fighting, which suited him perfectly. Because he was the same type of person. Survival points: the further you go, the more you'll get from killing the trainees of the other training camp. Like survival crystals, there's an exchange limit. Survival crystals are 3,000 hidden Zune points. Survival points are 5,000 hidden Zune points. Newbies can get up to 16,000 hidden Zune points. Compared to the combat field, it was much more. This was the highest reward in the training camp: 1 point for one's efforts, one's gains. Entering the survival field was a matter of putting one's life on the line, so the rewards were even higher. Moreover, the survival field score was twice as high as the combat fields. But even if one wasn't a newbie, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to get the full 8,000 hidden Zune points. Especially for survival points, it got harder and harder to exchange for them. The seniors of the training camp, from the third era onwards, the highest hidden Zune points they could get would decrease. Every era, the upper limit would decrease by 1,000, until it reached the lower limit of 1,000, which was a total of 2,000 hidden Zune points. There are quite a few people in the hidden Zune training camp who can get the full 8,000 hidden Zune points. On average, it happens once every few dozen eras. But just like the combat field, newbies who can get the full 16,000 hidden Zune points only appear once every few hundred eras. The closest was 1,025 eras ago. Lin Feng smiled. The survival field was much harder than the combat field. It wasn't easy to survive against top experts, and to get the full 16,000 hidden Zune points was like the moon in the water. In the combat field, Huang Qinyan and I both broke the record of 381 eras, but we couldn't decide who was better. In the survival field, we can settle this once and for all. Let's see who is this era's the strongest newbie king. Chapter 2458. Training Camp, Year 98-99. It was the last year before the survival zone opened. All the cultivators in the 5 regions of the hidden Supreme Training Camp were prepared. Entering the survival zone was a requirement. Every cultivator had to enter. Even if they couldn't enter due to special reasons, they would be kicked out of the training camp, or even kicked out of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. A coward wasn't worthy of being an honorable. "Brother Lin, you really don't want to come with us?" Wang Zihan asked. "Yes, Brother Lin Feng, it's your first time in the survival zone. It'll be better if you get used to it with us first," Men Luo said. Lin Feng appreciates the 2 seniors' good intentions. Lin Feng smiled apologetically. It's just that this junior is used to being alone. Although Wang Zihan and Men Luo were strong and experienced, Lin Feng had decided to be alone from the start, so he rejected them. However, the 2 had good intentions. They were all from the Xing Feng branch, so they would help each other. "All right, with your current strength, there's not much we can do to help," Wang Zihan said with a smile. Men Luo nodded. "Brother Lin Feng may be strong, but you still have to be careful of the God-slaying training camp's cultivators. They're all battle-hardened, so they'll be able to display stronger fighting strength in the survival zone. You also have to be careful of the areas that are easy to hide. There are many places where you can't sense auras," Chiruo Lin reminded. Lin Feng nodded. Although he knew a lot of things, the thought was the most important. Cultivators from different branches were more familiar with each other, so they were more united, so they would choose to fight side by side in the survival zone. After all, only by working together could they survive better in the survival zone. Only by surviving could they get a higher score, right? Just the survival points alone, if they could survive the 100 years, they would get 550 survival points, which could be exchanged for 550 Qian Zun points. For those geniuses with average talent, 550 Qian Zun points was a huge amount. The death immortal puppet that could save their lives was only worth 500 Qian Zun points. Not all cultivators were like Lin Feng and Huang Qinyan, who had an endless supply of Qian Zun points. 99% of the cultivators in the training camp lacked Qian Zun points, and they were in dire need of it. The most deadly danger in the survival realm comes from the hidden Zun training camp. Next is the seventh ferocious beast of the God realm. Lastly, the cultivators from the same training camp. He already knew everything he needed to know about the survival zone. Normally, it was rare for cultivators from the same training camp to kill each other, because harming others was not beneficial to oneself. Even when fighting against the Godslayer training camp, killing the opponent was not allowed to take the opponent's treasures. This was the rule of the survival realm. They could kill for survival and raiding, but they couldn't kill for treasures. However, cultivators were individuals after all. Even if they had conflicts with the training camp, they could be found everywhere. Normally, they could not kill each other, but in the life domain, they did not have to care so much. For example, Keibisheng was narrow-minded and wanted to fight Lin Feng in the hunting zone. In the past, Keibisheng swore in his heart that he would tear Lin Feng to pieces in the survival realm, but now he did not have the guts to do so. What a joke! Lin Feng was now ranked 975 on the rating board, while Keibisheng barely squeezed into the top 10,000. The difference between the top 1,000 and the top 10,000 was absolute. Giant ferocious beasts were native beasts of the seventh God realm. They only had low intelligence and killing intent. Not only did they exist in the survival domain, but there were also many in the hunting domain. Many cultivators had gone to the hunting domain to kill countless giant ferocious beasts to earn revered points and accumulate experience. The difference was that some of the ferocious beasts in the survival realm had survival crystals. These survival crystals were put into the ferocious beasts by the sovereigns in the survival realm. Low-class ferocious beasts, no survival crystals. Mid-class ferocious beast, 1%. High-class ferocious beast, 5%. Brutal ferocious beast, 20%. Ferocious beast overlord, 50%. Ferocious beast king, 100%. Among them, the low-class ferocious beasts had the battle strength of a normal peak divine lord. Mid-class ferocious beasts had the battle strength of a peak divine lord. High-class ferocious beasts were close to the limit of a peak divine lord. My battle strength is about the same as my ranking, and I'm invincible among peak divine lords. The outside world kept criticizing Lin Feng, saying that his ranking did not match his strength, and that he was just relying on his achievements in the battle zone. But Lin Feng knew that best. 5,000 years ago that might have been the case, but now, he definitely had the battle strength that matched his ranking. In a one-on-one fight, I can kill a ferocious beast overlord that also has the battle strength of a peak divine lord. Even if I'm not a match for the ferocious beast king, I can still protect myself. Lin Feng had absolute confidence in getting survival crystals. The ferocious beast overlord had a 50% survival crystal, which meant that he could get one for every 2 he killed. It was very easy. As for the ferocious beast king, it had the battle strength of a beginner venerable. He might be able to fight it, but he had little confidence in killing it. As for the strongest ferocious beast emperor, there were very few of them in the survival zone that were as strong as venerables. They were all kings in their own territories, so it was fine as long as he did not provoke them. The battle zone has extra rewards, and so does the survival zone. The ferocious beasts have the talent of the universe, which originates from their ferocious beast original core. Refining it allows one to comprehend the corresponding universe heavenly path secret technique. Apart from that, the King Zone and Emperor Zone of the Survival Zone will have heaven and earth treasures and even special treasures. For example, Soaking in the pool of chaos will give one a chaos body. For example, climbing the mountain of life will increase one's life level. For example, soul immortal grass can greatly increase one's soul quality. There were too many treasures. That was one of the main reasons why cultivators dared to enter the survival zone despite knowing how dangerous it was. Where could one find these heaven and earth treasures and special universal treasures in the outside world? Even the special class geniuses could not get their hands on these treasures that could not be measured with money. Only by exploring the universe's secret realms would one have a chance. But in the survival zone, as long as one had enough strength and luck, they could get their hands on them. Of course, the stronger the treasure, the more dangerous it would be, and there might only be one in the entire survival zone. For example, the pool of chaos was not originally in the survival zone. Instead, Lord Huang Zun directly poured the pool of chaos from the universe's secret realms into it for one or two cultivators to use. The first one could completely absorb it, but the second one could only absorb a small part of it. Like the soul immortal grass, which was in the Emperor zone and guarded by the ferocious beast Emperor, it was extremely difficult to get one. Actually, compared to the ratings, these super treasures that are hard to find in the universe's secret realms are the most valuable ones in the survival zone. Lin Feng knew that these were the rewards that the two training camps had specially set up for these geniuses. Extra super rewards. Chapter 2459. Every cultivator in every region was on high alert. Not just the hidden Zune training camp, even the deicide training camp's cultivators were solemn. This was a test of survival, strength, and ability. The winner was king, and the loser was a bandit. No one dared to underestimate them. Even the strongest of the two camps, Trout Dragon and Taigan Decidua. For countless eras, it was common for the first place to fail. This was because the survival zone was the place with the highest chance of becoming a venerable in the entire training camp. There was no other. At the very least, 1 to 2 cultivators would break through and become venerable ones in every survival domain test, obtaining treasures, facing death and desperation, and so on. The tens of millions of cultivators gathered here were all the best of their respective astral realms. They were already at the peak of the Divine Lord level. When the time came, it was only natural for them to break through. Although they had to leave the survival zone immediately after becoming a venerable, sometimes there was no other way. There was once when the top of the deicide training camp's ranking, CI Shio, killed a team of hidden Zune training camp's cultivators. In the end, this team of cultivators died tragically. One of the cultivators was so angry that he broke through to become a venerable and killed CI Shio. The survival zone was different from the combat zone. In the combat zone, the top AI could control everything, but the survival zone was a natural secret zone. Even if Huang Zun, who was in charge, teleported there, it would take some time. In a battle, a split second was enough to be fatal. There were plenty of people who had fallen from the top of the rankings, not to mention the top 100 and top 10,000 of the rankings. Hatred, betrayal, encirclement, and even being killed by the giant ferocious beast Emperor, there were many. The outcome of a battle would always be unknown. I have to be careful, and even more careful. Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. Even if he had a very strong trump card and a life-saving move, the survival zone was full of dangers. No one knew what would happen in the next second. Not to mention, the 9th level of the Kuan Ling Heart arrow had a lot of restrictions. At least, it was useless against the giant ferocious beast. So, no matter how confident Lin Feng was, he still kept the death immortal puppet for safety. Survival zone, open. In front of everyone's expectations, the voice of the top AI resounded throughout the two training camp. Every cultivator's eyes lit up as they all pressed the hidden revered Luo Jing's button to teleport. Hua hua hua, rays of white light flashed in the universe area. Lin Feng also pressed the button. Unlike the other cultivators who were in groups of 3 to 5, Lin Feng was alone. In the entire universe, Less than 1% had the courage to be a Lone Ranger. One by one, they disappeared from the universe region. Lin Feng also entered. Whoosh, the grass and trees changed instantly, and the houses of the cultivators in the surroundings disappeared in an instant. It was as if they had arrived at a new area in an instant. Survival region. It was a vast expanse of land, with a range of mountains and precipitous ridges. From afar, one could see the shadow of a pagoda, rising straight into the blue sky. What a powerful suppression! Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. That powerful suppression made it hard to detect the aura. The gray sky seemed like it was about to rain blood. No flying in the sky, no walking on the ground. This was the rule of the survival zone. Otherwise, hiding in the endless sky for 100 years and digging a hole in the ground for 100 years would allow one to easily pass the survival zone. Lin Feng opened the hidden revered Luo Jing. On the bottom left was the number 0, which was his current survival point. In the middle was a red dot, which was his current location. His surroundings were pitch black, which was an unexplored area. Pulling the distance to a large extent, he could still see a few white dots. They were Wang Zihan, Men Luo, Hu Jinyu, Ouyangyi, and other friends he had made. The survival zone allowed people to form groups. After all, it was a survival ability. If one's strength wasn't enough, wouldn't they be allowed to form groups? That would be a little too unreasonable. However, the more cultivators there were in a group, the easier it was to provoke the giant beasts. The giant beasts that killed for a living were very sensitive to the aura of other life forms. The more cultivators there were, the easier it was to sense them. There's not much meaning in getting survival points now, Lin Feng said in his heart. Right now, each cultivator probably only had their initial survival points, but they couldn't see it themselves. As for the score, it was a comprehensive value determined by the top AI, so he didn't have to worry about it. After 50 or 60 years, many experts would have killed other cultivators. At that time, their survival points would rise. Then, getting survival points would be much easier. Killing a cultivator would give him half of their survival points. Of course, killing didn't mean truly killing them. After all, many cultivators had the Death Immortal puppet. As long as he eliminated them, he would get survival points. However, without the Death Immortal puppet, death was death in the survival zone. It was very cruel. I'm still a little bit weaker now. In the first 50 years, I'll wander around the survival zone and look for giant beasts to kill and get survival crystals. Also, I'll see if I'm lucky enough to get some special treasures. If I'm lucky, I'll find a king's domain. Lin Feng thought in his heart. The king's domain and the king's domain covered the entire survival zone. The survival zone was very big, and one couldn't teleport at will. Flying alone wouldn't be able to explore it in 1,000 years, let alone 100 years. There were 10,800 king's domains guarded by the Beast King. There were at least 2 or 3, and at most 10. There were 108 king's domains with giant beast emperors. The level of the treasures was definitely higher than the king's domain. However, because there were giant beast emperors that were comparable to venerables, the king's domain was much more dangerous than the king's domain. The scariest thing was that it was a domain. It meant that once you entered, you would be completely exposed. No treasures would be able to hide you, and all the giant beasts in the domain, including the Beast King and giant beast emperors, would hunt you down. I'm not picky. No matter which domain it is, it's fine as long as I can enter it. Lin Feng had enough strength, so he wasn't worried. He could enter the king's domain without fear. Even if it was the most dangerous king's domain, he would just be chased away. As long as he could find it, no matter which domain he entered, he would definitely gain something. As long as I gain something in the first 50 years, I'll be able to increase my battle strength a little. In the next 50 years, I'll have enough chips and confidence to fight for the position of strongest newcomer king. Even if it doesn't work out, I'll have to hunt for enough survival crystals in the first 50 years. Lin Feng nodded secretly. Becoming the strongest newcomer king was his #1 goal. The second best was to earn the full 16,000 venerable points in the survival zone.